Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah! Roll call.
Mayor Medina,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Felix, Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Foster, Ms. Sherman, here, Ms. Smith, here.
Is Councilman Foster on the line?
No, he is not.
Thank you, ma'am. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. 4 vacancies on the Youth Advisory Board represent student member position. 3 vacancies on the Youth Advisory Board represent adult member position. 3 terms expiring on the Community Development Advisory Board representing non-for-profit, banking industry, and advocate for low-income position. Anyone wishes to serve on these boards can reach out to the clerk's office at palmbayflorida.org or call 321-952-3414.
Thank you. We're now on agenda revisions. And Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on the list is Councilman Johnson has requested to withdraw items 2 and 3 under public hearings related to temporary moratoriums. The next item is consideration of purchasing 4 fire rescue vehicles utilizing the expedited quoting process has been added to the agenda as item 1 under procurements. Also, 2 additional items added to the agenda under new business include item number 2, consideration of initial funding appropriation for Fire Station 9 and authorization to purchase a fire truck from 10-8 and Safety LLC. And item number 3, consideration of travel and training for employees within the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Really appreciate that. So if anyone is here, I want to police this. If anyone's here for items 1 and 2 that are on the public hearing, the discussion of the moratorium.
2 and 3, sir.
Oh, as you were. 2 and 3. The discussion of the moratorium, it has been withdrawn, so we will not be discussing that today. So just so that you know, it won't be discussed. It has been withdrawn. So good evening. Today we honor in these chambers National Police Week. Isn't that exciting? So we are going to honor the men and women that protect us each and every day. I don't know about you, but that excites me. For those of you that don't know the mayor, it doesn't take much to get me excited. But when we honor those that lay down their lives for us each and every day, that really does set the tone, and it gives me a heartfelt opportunity for me to convey that. So without further ado, we're going to do a short presentation. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Mertens to come up. So we're all squared away. Everybody say hi, Mrs. Mertens. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Say hi, Mrs. Mertens. You'll know how blessed we are to have her here in just a few short moments. So without further ado, honor guard, present colors. Detail. Halt. There. Face. Present. On.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in there, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Give it up for Mrs. Mertens, huh? Didn't I tell you we were blessed to have her singing? The alternative would have been your mayor, so I know you guys should be really appreciative of that. I'm going to call up our chief, Mario Agello, on up. Come on up, sir. You're going to call the rest of your team up? Well, give the order, sir. Come on up. Today we honor you. Do I have to go out there and oh, okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. Grazie. Come on, fill it in. Fill it in. Ladies and gentlemen, we're truly blessed. The men and women that you see behind me here, they don't make them any better. See, they have a call in their lives. They may not have known what the call was, but I truly believe that God placed it in their hearts to lay down their lives for each and every one of us. And this is just a mere portion of our sworn officers and those that support our sworn officers. I will always honor the men and women that protect us each and every day. The sacrifices, you have no idea what they do from one call to the next. For them to literally think about you instead of themselves and their own family, that is a calling. And I truly believe that calling was placed there by the Most High God. Yes, there's something scriptural about that, but I'm not preaching a sermon here today. It's National Police Week, May 12th through the 18th. National Peace Officers Memorial Day on May 15th. It is hereby proclaimed by the mayor of the greatest city on the face of the earth, Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, whereas the Congress and the President of the United States designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week. And whereas during National Police Week, communities recognize the service and sacrifice of the United States law enforcement and pay tribute to those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, more than 22,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made that ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including two of our very own, Officers Gerald Johnson and Ronald Grogan. And whereas, according to the FBI law enforcement, officers killed and assaulted data collection reporting in 2023, a total of 136 law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty. Of these, 47 officers died because of firearm-related injuries. 37 officers died in vehicle accidents, and 52 by other causes, whether it was fire, medical, or failing objectives and drowning. There was a total decrease of nearly 39% in the line of duty deaths when compared to 2023. A 24% decrease for firearm related deaths as compared to the average between 2010 and 2020, where an average of 53 officers were killed each year by felonious assaults involving firearms. And whereas locally, Families of the Shield Incorporated, a nonprofit organization in 2010 by a Melbourne police officer, continues to work to support and raise public awareness of police officers killed or injured in the line of duty. They also provide financial assistance and donations and emotional support to families of police officers killed, injured in the line of duty. And whereas I want to insert an opportunity for the chief to be recognized, for he began his own 501c3 to provide services for those that are serving in our community, those law enforcement officials. And I'll let you speak on that, Chief. Whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties and responsibilities, the hazards and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Whereas the city of Palm Bay is proud of the members of the Palm Bay Police Department who provide a vital public service for our citizens, regardless of the peril of hazard to themselves. Now, therefore, I, Rob Medina, Mayor of the city of Palm Bay, the greatest city on the face of the earth, by virtue of said office, do hereby proclaim National Police Week, May 12th through the 18th, and National Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th. In the city of Palm Bay, and encourage all our citizens to take time to pause, express our gratitude, give our thanks to the unwavering commitment, courage, sacrifice of all our law enforcement officers in protecting and serving the communities across our nation. In witness hereof, I set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Palm Bay to be affixed this second day of May. Chief Agello, you lead an outstanding department, and we will always be indebted to the men and women that serve the city of Palm Bay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So as the mayor mentioned, this month every year, we recognize and we remember not only the brave men and women that currently don their uniform and their shield every day to protect and serve their communities, but in remembrance of those that made the ultimate sacrifice. As the mayor mentioned, Officer Ronald Grogan and Gerald Johnson, just a couple of weeks ago, we honored and remembered their memory and their sacrifices for this community here of Palm Bay 37 years ago. So it goes without saying how important this is for us that wear the uniforms and for our families as well, that go through what each officer goes through day in and day out. But I also want to thank our community, each and every one of you, for the support that we receive daily. It's truly an honor. It's truly a blessing that we do have the support that we do here in Palm Bay for their law enforcement. And our city manager, our mayor, and our council, without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we've been doing the last couple of years. But last but not least, and more importantly, the men and women that stand here with me, and those that are not here because they're out, as you guys noticed, some of them had to run out real quick to go out and protect and serve. They don't go out every day and every night thinking about what's going to happen to them. They knew the risk when they took their oath of honor. how dangerous this profession is and can be. What they do is they go out every day and every night to work their shifts, to handle their calls for service for one reason, and that's to bring honor to their badge, to bring honor to their community, and to serve them well with dignity and humility. And they do that every single day and night. And for that, I am so honored to be their police chief. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you standing behind me, next to me, and those that aren't here because they're out working. So for that, I thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
So I want to take this opportunity just to share an instance or situation that we had just this past Saturday. So this past Saturday, we had a brush fire at the Air Force Annex, which happens to be a federal property. And right along the rear side of that property, their homes. And the cloud of smoke was so thick that our first responders, the law enforcement officials, were going door to door, actually attempting to evacuate personnel. But our firefighters were part of the team. They were out there, and we had so many in the community come out. It could have been a devastating time. We did not lose, and I thank God for this. We did not lose and have anything affect any property or have any structural damage. We might have had a shed that might have caught fire, a deck that might have caught fire, but the quick response of the entire team was unbelievable and astronomical. And I say God's grace because as the fire was going, I went with a deputy chief or assistant fire chief. We were right in the middle of the Air Force Annex. And within 4 miles, there was a downpour. If you don't believe that that was an answer to prayer, I'm here to tell you and confirm that was God's grace and an answer to prayer. And we did not lose anyone's property, which was a miracle in it of itself. So I want to thank each and every one of you. The response that you gave made me so proud. I'm honored to be in the presence of giants. That's exactly who you are. You guys are great. Your legacy will live on. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your team. Give it up for our first responders. Hey, get close together, pretend like you love one another. Hey, look at Christina. Thank you.
Sir. That's what you guys do, of course.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so we continue in recognizing. Do you know what the first Thursday of the month is of May? The first Thursday of the month of May? You guys cheated. It is. It's National Day of Prayer. That means we all get together as one body to pray for this great nation and to pray for others. Isn't that great? This nation was founded on prayer. And if you don't know, now you know. So I'm going to call up Marcela Rojas, bring up the whole team. Well, I know that Pastor Mark's here. I know that Pastor Kenny's here. So when I say the whole team, I would mean even Pastor Tyler's here. Come on up, guys. It is hereby proclaimed by the mayor of the city of Palm Bay. Hoorah. Thank you for that. Brevard County, Florida, whereas the first National Day of Prayer was proclaimed in 1775 by the Second Continental Congress, so that all Americans of every religious denomination and background may pray for God's continual love and mercy upon our land. Ma'am, why are you not here? For as it is written in Psalms 33:12, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Man, that's powerful. And that every year the National Day of Prayer is proclaimed by the President of the United States of America. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is an annual observance held on the first Thursday in May, it is based on a federal statute, 36 United States Code Statute 119, which was first signed into law by President Harry S. Truman in 1952. The statute reads as follows: the president shall issue each year a proclamation designating the first Thursday in May as National Day of Prayer, on which the people of the United States may turn to God in prayer and meditation at churches, in groups, and as individuals. And whereas the Declaration of Independence signed by the United States Continental Congress on January 18, 1777, established our nation's humble beginnings on the belief that our Creator has endowed us with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The city of Palm Bay was incorporated on January 16, 1960, for this very purpose, as stated in the preamble of the city charter. And whereas all of us have the freedom to pray and exercise our faiths openly, let us give thanks for the freedom to practice our faith as we see fit, whether individually or in fellowship. And whereas we pray for the safety of our brave men and women in uniform, for their loved ones, and for the speedy recovery of our wounded warriors, let us also pray for police officers, firefighters, and other first responders who put themselves in harm's way to protect their fellow Americans. Let us come together to pray for peace and goodwill as we work to meet the great challenges of our time. Now, therefore, I, Rob Medina, Mayor of the City of Palm Bay, the greatest city on the face of the earth, by virtue of the authority of said office, do hereby proclaim May 2nd, 2024 as National Day of Prayer in the city of Palm Bay, and encourage all our citizens to give thanks in accordance to your own faith for the many freedoms and blessings, and in asking God for his continued guidance, his continued mercy, and his continued protection. In witness hereof, I set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Palm Bay to be affixed the second day of May, 2024. Marcela, you come forward and say a few words. Congratulations.
I'm honored. My name is Marcela, and I get to be a part of this blessed team of pastors and ministry leaders in South Brevard County. And we get together once a month and we encourage each other, and we also unite biblically, because we know that we have an enemy, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And we have a lot of people that God has put on our heart, and it weighs heavily, just like the word honor means weight. So it's an honor, but it's also a weight. And each and every one of the pastors and ministry leaders want to deliver the right kind of love to each of the ones that they're caring for and shepherding. So we meet once a month and we're encouraging each other, and we're kind of leveling out the weight as Jesus said we're one body. So I know I didn't join the NFL. My church is not better than your church. It's one body. And so we're united, right? So Team Jesus.
Good. Thank you. Did you want to say something? Come on, let's take a picture. Where you going, Bob? Smile, Bob. Let's get together. Ladies and gentlemen, I was supposed to call someone up for item number one, proclamation, and I'm going to lay on my sword because I made a mistake. So I'm going to call Master Chief Batten up that wanted to speak regarding proclamation number one, and just say, please forgive me, brother. I overlooked that I was supposed to call you up. Thank you. Come on up.
Apologize. Okay. Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. When you look at the cities that pushed for defunding or reallocating police funds because of a misconceived perception, it makes me proud to live in the city where that was not the mindset. Remember that thin blue line is all that stands locally between you and anarchy. I have had interactions spanning the entire spectrum, both good and bad, with the Palm Bay Police. But my respect and admiration for what they do has not waned. Thank you for doing what few are willing to do. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. And yes, the thin blue line, you're absolutely right, brother. You're absolutely right. So now I'm going to call up Kim Oakes and the lovely folks from American Legion 117. So we're recognizing Poppy Days, and it has nothing to do with Fred Poppy. Just want to set the record straight. He's not here. I was hoping I'd get him here, but it is hereby proclaimed by the mayor of the city of Palm Bay. I guess you guys want to keep saying it. Hoorah. Whereas the annual distribution of poppies by Charles F. Thomas IV, American Legion Auxiliary Unit 117, these lovely ladies right here, has been officially recognized and endorsed by government leaders. And whereas the poppy became a symbol of the sacrifice of lives in war and represented the hope that none have died in vain. And whereas poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and in-need veterans, and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas meeting the continuing needs of our veterans should be a concern of every American who values his or her freedom. The auxiliary promotes the poppy as a symbol of the sacrifices of our military that our military has made, a symbol to open people's hearts and inspire them to donate. Inspire them to donate. Whereas all citizens are encouraged to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support and accepting poppies during the day set aside for the distribution of this symbol to honor every service member who has died in the name of liberty, in the name of freedom, in the name of democracy, while also showing their support for living veterans, service members, and their families. Now, therefore, I, Rob Medina, Mayor of the City of Palm Bay, the greatest city on the face of the earth, and encourage the citizens of Palm Bay to wear a poppy as a mute evidence of our gratitude to the men and women of this country who've risked their lives in defense of our freedoms, which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. In witness hereof, I set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Palm Bay to be affixed this second day, 2024. Congratulations, Kim. Here you go, ma'am.
Thank you.
And the mic is yours.
I was worried you're going to have me speak.
Well, ma'am, I want you to share your heart regarding.
I will. My name is Kim Oakes. I am Unit 117 president. And I just want to share a little bit about the poppy. When the American Legion family adopted the poppy as its memorial flower in the early 1920s, the blood red icon became an enduring symbol of honor for the sacrifices of our veterans from the battlefields of France in World War I to today's global war on terror. The American Legion Auxiliary raises about $4 million each year, distributing poppies throughout the nation, with 100% of the funds raised going directly to help veterans, military, and their families. The poppy also honors hospitalized and disabled veterans who handcraft many of the red crepe paper flowers. Making the poppies provides a financial and therapeutic benefit to the veterans, as well as a benefit to thousands of other veterans. So wearing the poppy on National Poppy Day and throughout Memorial Day weekend is one small way to honor and remember our fallen warriors who willingly served our nation and made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think she wants to take a picture. Come on. And I think Christina wants a picture too. Thank you. Okay. Deputy Mayor, we are now on public comments.
Mr. Bill Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. We have a U.S. citizen, Donald Trump, running for the presidency, and he is not allowed to utilize his First Amendment right in violation of his Bill of Rights. So I will call out this grievous act on his behalf. 2, we have citizens, non-citizens, and agitators disrupting and interfering with others' rights, chanting death to America and publicly affirming their allegiance to terrorist organizations. Item number 3, yet Donald Trump cannot publicly speak the truth. There is something wrong with this scenario, and if you cannot see it, you must be blind or part of the problem. Look at the funding sorrow for the displayed behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Pastor Delgado.
Ken Delgado at 154 Angela Road, Southeast, at the greatest city in the world of Palm Bay. This is National Day of Prayer, and I thought I'd bring a little history. I think history is important because if you forget history, you're bound to make the same mistakes. I'd like to read from a couple of our presidents. President Andrew Jackson. The Bible, is the rock on which our republic rests. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In the formative days of the republic, the directing influence the Bible exercised upon the fathers of this nation is conspicuously evident. This book continues to hold its unchallenged place as the most loved, the most quoted, and the most universally read and pondered of all the volumes which our libraries contain. We cannot read the history of the rise and the development as a nation without reckoning with the place the Bible has occupied in sharing the advances of this republic. I suggest a nationwide reading of the Holy Scriptures for a renewed and strengthening contact with those eternal truths and the majestic principle which we have inspired such measure of the greatness of this as this nation has achieved. Last, President Teddy Roosevelt. The teachings of the Bible are so interwoven and intertwined with our whole civic and social life that it would be literally, and I do not mean figuratively, I mean literally impossible for us to figure to ourselves what the life would be if these teachings were removed. We would lose almost all the standards by which we now judge both public and private morals, all the standards towards which we, with more or less resolution, strive to raise ourselves. Almost every man who has by his life work added to the sum of human achievement of which this race is proud, of which our people are proud, almost every such man has based his life work largely upon the teachings of the Bible. I think we have to come to terms with the reality that our freedom is based on inalienable rights given by God, and that nothing of these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, should be abridged in any form or fashion in this nation. I pray the blessing and the grace of God from sea to sunny sea in the power of Jesus' name. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Miss Lisa Jackson. Lisa Jackson.
Is that good, you think? Thank you. Lisa Jackson, 589 Trumpet Street, Southwest. Hello, I'm here tonight to talk about recycling. Being able to recycle, reuse, or repurpose an item is imperative because it curbs what ends up in the landfill or even our oceans. Many citizens here in Palm Bay are unaware of what goes into those recycling bins, so a lot of it ends up in the landfill due to contamination. So I'm here to offer a perspective and some possible solutions. I'm an avid recycler and I generate more recycling than I do garbage. One week in April, my recycling pickup was missed. So I began to wonder, why am I being charged for a service I'm not receiving? Where does it go? And why is Palm Bay so limited in what can be recycled? When my pickup was missed, I phoned to report it and spoke to someone in Jacksonville. I phoned 321, so I asked, why are you not in Palm Bay? He said Republic Services had a national call center, so our calls go to North Carolina or Jacksonville. There's no local customer service. My pickup was rescheduled for Friday. It was missed again. Monday, I was told by a lady in North Carolina it would be by the end of the day. It was never picked up. So basically, I paid for a week I didn't receive. So two concerns here. The billing is handled by Palm Bay, but there's nothing in place to give me a credit or refund for the missed pickup. Same with garbage. I only need it once a week, but I pay for it twice a week. And I wondered, where does recycling go and why can't we recycle glass? So Brevard County Recycling website indicates that we do recycle plastics 1, 2, and 5 and glass. We employ single stream recycling. So reasons I was given for not accepting glass include it breaks, contaminates other items, and it's not cleaned well. So people, it's contaminated anyway. In my quest for answers, I've been given a wealth of information and inspiration on how to improve the system, engage citizens to recycle more, and keep solutions local. So here's what I know. Our trash goes to Sarno Road. Our recycling goes to Cocoa. Whatever they can't accept goes to Indian River County. They accept glass there and 1, 2, and 5 plastics. I would love our city to be considered a green city, to be seen as an environmentally friendly place and a place where we care about the land, wildlife, and waterways. We're an outdoors and sunshine place, so let's be eco-friendly too. Here's what I propose. Create a means to allow customers to receive a credit for a missed pickup. Amend the contract to create a local Palm Bay customer service position, so we talk to somebody local. Allow for recycling of plastics 1, 2, and 5. There's a huge market for them. Allow glass to be recycled. There's a huge market for repurposing glass. Begin an advertising education campaign to educate citizens on what can and can't be recycled. And put placards on the bins so that people can see pictures of what goes in the bin and what does not go in the bin. I think we can work together to preserve our beautiful environment here. Thank you very much. And my last comment, please, once again, pavement and road. They patched it, but they didn't pave it.
What part? The south of Malabar?
Between Jupiter and Malabar.
Malabar, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
they put little patches on it, but it's not.
Yeah, we've got that on the schedule, ma'am. We do. But Madam Chairman, I wanted to talk a little bit about those proposals. If we could just look into those and maybe work with Miss Lisa and Republic,
Certainly.
especially regarding, we were always informed that there's no market for glass.
That is correct.
So if there is a market, I'd like for us to tap into that.
I believe what you knew before is still accurate, sir, but I'll follow up with Ms. Jackson.
Okay, copy that. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that.
Next
speaker.
Mayor, on that comment, I'd like to add, maybe Ms. Jackson can work with our advisory board, sustainability advisory board, work through a presentation and work it from there. That could be a good start. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah,
I
no,
think that'll
that's
get
a
to the
great.
board, and
I
they
think-
can share and maybe do a presentation, work it from there, and send proposal towards staff and council. I think that'll be a good platform.
That's good. That's just advice. But in the meantime, if we could just research that a little bit. Thank you, ma'am. But that's a great suggestion, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Next speaker.
Mr. Bob Llewellyn.
Yeah, you pronounced it right, sir.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Llewellyn,
okay.
yes. Yeah. It's spelled differently, right?
So I'm Bob Llewellyn, 841 Firestone Street, Northeast, Palm Bay. I just want to say thank you again to our councilman and for your service to our city. I really appreciate it. And a lot of times, I don't think you maybe hear that as much as you need to. So one more time, yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I was very thankful for what was being said tonight about our police and our firefighters, but particularly the police, because as Mayor Medina was reading, he happened to mention something that the police protect some of our citizens from deception. And that is rampant nowadays. And I wanted to use a little portion of my 3 minutes to just remind everyone, including the people assembled behind me, that in the 1640s, in 1642, and then following in 1647, the Massachusetts Bay Colony, the Puritan people, created a law called the Old Deluder Satan Act. And the purpose of this law was to make sure that in the cities that had at least 50 homes, that the children weren't going to be ignored as far as the proper education, because a failure to give a proper education was going to cause them later in life or even earlier to be deluded. And a lot of people are now deluded. We've taken God largely out of the public arena, out of the public schools and so forth, as if we're smarter for having done so. And we're seeing the terrible results as people lose hope and don't think that they have anyone that they're going to have to answer to. And yet, what a rude awakening when they discover that when this last breath has been taken, that wasn't the end of their existence. So I just want to say, remember that when you're holding up our city, it's important to remember we do want to keep our slogan, "In God We Trust." Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Lois Valdez.
Louis Valdez, 833 Sherwood Avenue. First, I want to say thank you as a former law enforcement officer for recognizing the dedication that the men and women that wear the badge put in to their line of work. Second, I also want to thank you for the trenching that went for cutting the swale trenches in our neighborhood after I came here and explained to you what happened. It's been resolved. The water flows fine, even though it hasn't rained a little bit. But when you guys did it, all of that backed up water left. But the issue I'm talking about today is Turkey Creek Sanctuary. It's a city park. On the signage, it says under city ordinance 36.14 that firearms are banned. I just wish to inform you as the Florida State Director for Gun Owners of America that signage is actually in violation of state preemption 790.33 and 790.06 subsection 12A. That lists specifically the gun-free zones in the state of Florida. The interesting thing is that ordinance 36.14 under Sydney city ordinance actually bans hunting. It doesn't mention firearms at all. So under state preemption right now, if my organization wished to actually file a lawsuit against this, we could. We're not going to. That's why I'm here simply informing you guys. But the current signage there is in violation of state preemption. Another organization that has filed lawsuits can, and they usually do these things. I'm simply informing you guys to get that issue corrected. It's a city park. You can't ban firearms under that issue. The wording is wrong. As soon as that's fixed, it's not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Mayor, I certainly will contact Parks and we'll review what we have there and I'll follow up on it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, man. Next speaker.
Ms. Patricia Dalpa.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Pat Dalper of 410 Georges Avenue Northeast. I want to thank you and the city for allowing the citizens to participate in the National Day of Prayer here in these chambers. It was a wonderful time. It was a powerful time of worship and a much needed time of prayer. So I want to just thank you for that awesome time today. Two, I have friends who live in Sandy Pines. There are two crosswalks between the community center and the nursing home. There are two signs up, but the people are saying that they're having a hard time crossing Port Malabar because the traffic won't slow down at all for them. So they were asking if we can get a flashing light or something on those signs to show that somebody's crossing Port Malabar. I don't know if that's possible, but there's two crosswalks, so maybe at least one of the crosswalks would be nice to have a sign, flashing light. The last thing is I'm a volunteer for Citizens Defending Freedom, and we know that there are many, many candidates running this year. We are a nonpartisan organization and are offering opportunities for all candidates to speak at the Meet the Candidates events. We have one Saturday at Grace Bible in Bayside from 1 to 5. We have one in Merritt Island. We have one at Victory and Christ on Jupiter in July. And then August, we have it at the house, August 10th. So if there's any candidates that haven't been invited or would like to speak, you can contact Ruth Kofold at ccdfusa.com. And I'd like to invite all citizens to come out to be able to hear our candidates, their opinions of what they're going to do, who they are, their principles, and to be able to ask questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Sherman, the consideration of the crossing light at Port Malabar.
Yes, sir, I noted that. I'll work with the team to see if that's appropriate for that location.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Robert Stice.
Good evening, Robert Stice, 1796 Winbrook Drive. Just a question. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, one of my residents called the Palm Bay Fire Department to come and assess the potential fire danger of the former Majors Golf Course. When you look back there, you see weeds about chest high, a lot of overgrown grass and what have you. And I guess we're in the dry season. I thought this was in the wet season. So fire truck came down the street, tanker truck came down, another fire truck came down. I don't know what that was, maybe a command car or something like that. There's about 8 people that got out, made the observation, and they basically got back. When I try to get some information, obviously I'm the HOA president there. They said they would just move it up the chain of command. They would make that known to the fire chief. So I would like to know what the fire chief says about that. On a side note, with just a few minutes, I've had about 6 or 7 careers in my life, and one of them happened to be running a site for waste management in Colorado. It's really a good idea to label on your recycles because people don't understand. For instance, if you throw a piece of styrofoam in the recycle bin, it's not recyclable. What happens is when you have something called single stream, that means you have everything going on one belt. And if it's supposed to be allowable material, the belt stops and it just stops everybody in its tracks. So whether it's these plastic bags you get from Publix, which have been recycled so many times they have no value and you can't recycle that. So I think a lot of it is, quite honestly, is ignorance of really what is recyclable and what isn't. The other thing about glass, there's no breweries here. So I just thought I'd add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stites. Madam Sherman, if we could have those details of the team passed on to Mr. Stites and perhaps even copy counsel.
Yes, sir, we can do that.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, this is the end of public comment.
That's all? Okay. So now, Deputy Mayor, we are on consent.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda item with the removal of the following. Item number 2, 4, 5,
2,
8,
4, 5,
9, 11, and 18.
Second. Hold on a second. 2,
4, 5,
5,
8, 9, 11, and 18.
Did you just second that, Councilman Johnson? Yes, sir. Okay, I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We are now on public hearing. Oh, Madam Smith, as you were.
Ordinance 2024-21. An ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Title 5, Legislative, Chapter 52, Boards, Subchapter, Community Development Advisory Board, by revising provisions contained therein, providing for the repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the City of Palm Bay Code of Ordinances, providing for a severability clause, providing for an effective date. Ordinance 2024-22. An ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, providing for the naming of private drives located within tax parcel 510, Section 4, Township 29, Range 37, Brevard County, Florida, as Azalea Avenue Southeast and Bainbridge Circle Southeast, providing for the drives to remain private, providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now on public hearings. Madam Smith. Public hearings number 1.
The following items are quasi-judicial in nature. Public hearings agenda items number 1 and 4. Any person who wishes to testify on such a matter must sign a speaker card which contains a sworn oath to tell the truth. Any individual addressing the council must state his or her name and confirm that a speaker card has been signed. Attorneys who are appearing on behalf of a party and not providing testimonial evidence are not considered witnesses and need not be sworn. Counsel should disclose any ex parte communication by disclosing the subject matter of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place. The order of this proceeding will be as follows. First, the applicant will make his presentation, followed by staff comments, followed by any aggrieved or adversely affected party. Each will have a maximum of 30 minutes. Any speaker may be subject to cross-examination by the council or any other interested party for a maximum of 15 minutes. Any other person may speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. The applicant will then be allowed concluding remarks for a maximum of 10 minutes. Quasi-judicial body may modify the time limits on its own motion or upon request of a party to the proceeding. The hearing will then be closed and no additional testimony or argument will be allowed. The council will then deliberate in public. At the end of deliberation, a council member will make a motion on the application to bring the matter to a vote. Every council member is then free to vote in favor or against the motion. Resolution 2024-17. A resolution of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, granting a conditional use for a private school in RS2, Single Family Residential District zoning, which property is located at the southeast corner of Port Malabar Boulevard and Bianca Drive and legally described herein. Granting the use as a conditional use, providing for construction improvements to be in compliance with the site plan, providing for a commencement period, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm gonna open up the public hearing and ask the applicant to present their case. Life Changers.
Good afternoon. My name is Mr. KJ Lewis. I serve as the Director of Operations for Life Changers Christian Academy and Life Changers Outreach. We are privileged to celebrate a decade with our school opening. We have made an impact in the community since our opening. I've been with the school personally for 5 years and I've enjoyed every moment of it. Our school has grown so much and different programs that we've offered as far as STEM programs. We've got an articulation agreement with Eastern Florida State College where our students can get college classes and graduate with their AA degree. And so many great things are happening at our school. And so I believe in 2022, we came before you all granting a conditional use and it was granted. But unfortunately, of course, there was some timelines and things that we needed to shift as far as permitting, fire sprinklers and things of that sort. And so our time expired. The good thing is that we are, I believe we have one more comment left from our site plan approval. And so we're at the last stretch. And so today we are here to just request a little bit more time so that we can continue to move forward our project and grow in the City of Palm Bay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, council? Councilman Johnson?
Yes, Mayor, and thank you, sir. Since we're looking at approving it again, can you tell us the why? What were the constraints? What were the challenges
Yeah.
that occur?
Yeah, so some of the challenges was, the change of use. When we first applied for the occupancy, we had to do a change of use, and anytime you change of use, there's a certain requirement for private schools and so forth. With our case, there was a delay in timeline. For example, our fire sprinklers took 6 months because of parts demand, just securing a contract. Believe it or not, there's only, besides ADT or any other big company, there's only one major company that is in Palm Bay that service fire sprinklers. Everyone else is in Orlando or further north, and unfortunately, they don't want to come down. And so that was one of our major constraints, is really more about timeline and getting everything done. I do believe that there was past July, I think a year was kind of tight for us because of all the things that we needed to improve on the campus and just make it a great facility, so our community can see the great things that we're doing. So.
And you're confident this time everything's been lined up so that way the timeline runs smoothly and we'll be able to move forward?
Yes, sir. So as we speak right now, like I mentioned, we have one more thing on our list that is pending. Of course, we have to go through some other, little details and just put the blessing on it. But as of right now, we are at our last step of getting everything approved. So we just need a little bit more time, and I don't anticipate another 6 months, maybe 3 months. I believe this project will be done and completed, and because there is a huge need in the city. The city's growing. I see so many people have moved here, and there's such a need for schools. We can never have enough schools and good schools, and so I believe that that will give us enough time to do what we need to do. Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, my colleague, Councilman Johnson, is concerned because we have not granted that time frame once it expires. But in this particular case, it appears the fire sprinklers, which, have you addressed that already?
I'm sorry?
The fire sprinklers.
Yes, sir. So
that's already completed?
So we are on our inside. So we've done our inspection with, I believe it's PDC, the outside contractor you guys use. Brian Dolan came in and gave our inspection. Everything was good to go. We are at our last step with the sprinklers, which is the outside work as far as the underground and getting the water and coordinating with St. Johns River. So we're at that last step. But in order for us to move forward, we would need the conditional use to be approved so that we can go ahead and apply for the site permit and get everything done. And so, like I said, we are right there. I've spoke to a lot of great people in the city, and they've been working very hard and helping us out and guiding us on what we need. And so the conditional use is what we need so that we can go ahead and just push forward and get everything completed in the time frame.
So if I understand also, there's 50 students we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
And of those 50 students, a large percentage of those students, they're shuttled to the location?
Yeah, so we have a variety of different programs that we offer. Like we have our robotics program that we have after school, our STEM program, our after school program. So we have different amount of percentage of students that may stay after school to get more services, tutoring, things of that sort. And it's all free for the community, for our students, of course. And then we have majority of our students that get bused, and then we have like maybe 20% of our parents that come and pick up and drop off.
So you have your own buses?
I'm sorry?
You have your own buses?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. All
Yes, sir.
And so you're not creating a traffic jam on Port Malabar Boulevard?
No, sir, we're not.
I just
No,
wanted to put that on the record.
No, sir.
Just
Yeah.
wanted to put that on the record. Do you have any questions, Deputy Mayor?
No, sir. I'd just like to say I had the opportunity to meet with Mr. CJ. Was it sometime last year?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we talked through some challenges and hopefully I think it was a productive meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And try to navigate, bring stuff into the conversation. I'm glad to see you guys had make some progress.
Yes, sir.
And I obviously would be willing to grant that
Thank you.
request.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
I hope things move smoothly from here.
Thank you.
From here on. Thank you. Should you get it?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I don't mention that as well. We had Juliet Mosconi and the entire team trying to assist you from continuing your school. But it is worth mentioning that there was a whole devoted team trying to help you navigate this for the children, right?
Yes, sir.
For the in the best interest of the students. So thank you. Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, sir. That is
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bill Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. I have 5 items to address on this. The first one, private school and RS2 zoning. It is authorized under a conditional use. That conditional use is no negative impact on the residents. That's what the stipulation states. 2, right? There's going to be an impact. The speed limit reduction in the school zone along Port Malabar. Port Malabar during school hours will need to be reduced down to 20 miles per hour through the school zone. So that's going to cause a backup. Item number 3. When they exit after the parents drop off the students at the school, they enter off the side street. Their exit pulls out onto Port Malabar Road. You know, that's great if you're the people on Port Malabar Road that want to go east. But if you're a person dropping off that wants to go west, you have to pull onto Port Malabar, make a U-turn in Port Malabar and head west, causing another potential backup of traffic. All right. Item number 4, reduce parking. They don't have enough parking spots for what is criteria under our city, under our ordinance or plans. Yet they've been saying, well, they can get by with that fewer number of parking spots because we're going to allow them to park on their grass. Yet the city ordinance just passed that the homeowners aren't allowed to park on their own grass, but now you're allowing businesses to park on the grass. I find that preferential treatment and somewhat hypocritical. Item number 5, stacking of traffic. Right? Stacking of traffic in the residential area so that when people are dropping off their residents or their students, they enter off the side street. That's going to cause stacking because they only have, according to what's in the documentation, they don't have enough stacking space in their plan to accommodate all the vehicles, so they'll end up stacking in the residential neighborhood. And we've already have that problem with what you're facing in Lockmar, with the school at Lockmar, with the traffic stacking in the residential neighborhood. I'm not saying this isn't a good thing to have. I'm just saying, let's don't repeat history when we have the ability now to correct the problems during the planning stages when they're being addressed. I know they're going to say, well, it's only 50 students. Well, Port Malabar, that school only started out as a small school, and look what it is now, because we gave authorization without the prior planning. That being said, I'm not saying it's not a good thing for them to have this school. The more education we can get, specialty education that they're providing, it's a good thing. But let's don't have the problems under the conditional use. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Deputy Mayor?
No, sir.
Okay. So, sir, you have an opportunity to rebut those 5 items that he mentioned.
Sure. So I would like to first, our parking loop is 752 square feet long. And so our school, that can fit about, that's average, I believe, 32 cars. We're averaging right now about 8 cars a day. So we don't believe that there is any stacking issues. As I mentioned, we have a lot of families that attend our school, families of 3 to 5. We rarely have families of 1. You know, obviously we want to welcome anyone, but we have a lot of families that come. So with those families, you know, they're 3 to 5 in 1 car. And then of course our shuttle that's taking the kids, you know, back and forth. Our school shuttle we do not go east, we go west, and that's built in our route. So we go west and go on US 1, and then we go, because we actually cater to the children in the Melbourne area that cannot afford to be picked up. And so we provide those free services for those students that cannot, you know, afford to transport from Melbourne to Palm Bay. And so I believe that's that. And then also in regards to the grass parking.
Yes.
So the building was so the grass park, so the majority of it, and I wouldn't say it's all grass, but most of it is paved and most of it has gravel. There is a few grass parking spots, but the whole thing is not grass parking. And so we have not even reached, I believe we, on an average, we may fill up maybe 6 spots a day with our visitors coming in, our parents coming in, we may fill up maybe 20 spots. And so I believe we, if I can't remember how many spots we do have, but I do believe we have, I think it's 52 spots that we have, and we don't fill up 52 spots. Again, our goal is, to stay small. That's our structure, and provide that instruction. I've spoke to, everybody in utilities, public works, and once the school has that plan to grow, we'll definitely come back and say, hey, like, what do we need to do to move this forward, or how can we adjust? But I think right now we're at a comfortable number, and I think that we're going to be set there for a little while. So that's all I have.
Okay. So part of the discussion, and this perhaps doesn't have anything to do with you, is the school zone speed limit. Would that be our traffic engineer, Madam Sherman?
Yes, so, sir, we're the ones that set those signs.
Okay.
Yes.
So where are we with that? Is that already established?
I would have to bring up Alan from our team of Public Works to
Yeah, I'd
try
love
to
to
answer
hear.
that. I don't know
I'd
offhand.
love to hear how it's
Yeah.
working, or how it was working.
Sure.
Hi, Ellen.
Howdy. How are you?
So I guess my question is, this school was operating before, right? Before they had to readdress the fire sprinklers and all of that. So the speed limit is set at what, 20 miles an hour?
For
there-
like 40 and above, and like 30 is like 15 for local road speed. That's
Okay.
the difference, 2 different speeds. But this school on Port Malabar does not have a school zone like you would have flashing. There's no reduction of speed on Port Malabar at all.
Okay.
For this school, there's no crossing across Port Malabar. Their students get bused or get dropped off. So there's no
there's no local.
There's no speed reduction or anything for the
Okay.
school.
Okay.
On that.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson, you had a question?
Yes, just knowing what we know with Pineapple Cove, we didn't have a say-so in that. So I kind of wanted to hear from staff, probably, or maybe the city attorney, whoever can speak on it. Because what year were y'all founded, sir?
2013, but 2013 is when we founded it, and 2015 is when we opened our doors.
And how many students did you start off with?
We had 3, and then progressively grew to 17.
Okay, and here you're talking about how many students now?
I'm sorry?
And here, how many students are you looking at? 50?
50, yes, sir.
So what I'm getting at is what you're doing works.
Yes, sir.
If you build it, they will come. What you're doing works. So expansion is going to happen.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you being modest, with coming to us to try to address it, but it's already showing that's happening for y'all.
Yes, sir.
So knowing that with Pineapple Cove, we didn't really have a chance on that to address it. Here we have a chance. That's what Mr. Batten's saying. So before moving forward, I would just like to make sure we act as if you're housing or not housing. You're taking care of 100 to 200 students.
Yes, sir.
Because that's probably what's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
We heard the pastor earlier talking about education, and
yes, sir.
it's a real thing. I'm seeing it in my profession as well. So it's going to happen. So knowing that it's going to happen, we can implement something now, or table this, or get feedback from staff on what we can do to prepare for the future.
Yes, sir.
So that's really where I'm at, Mayor. I would like to have staff's feedback on it, because I don't want to just move this forward and set you up for failure too.
Yes, sir.
So we could save everybody a lot of time if we just have some conversations and just break down the barriers and figure out what we need to do for everybody to succeed. So that's where I'm at, Mayor.
So thank you, Councilman Johnson. Right along that same vein, right? You have 50 students today, and I looked at your stats. When did you increase? Like just a few years ago, when you first came before us, how many students did you have?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
How many students did you have when you first came before us?
I wasn't here last time. I wasn't at the meeting, but I do believe remember. Okay, so somewhere around like 40, 35, we were there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you increased by 15 students, right? So right along what he's saying is, what is the goal? Are you going to get 100? The capacity today is 50,
Yes, sir.
but maybe next school enrollment season, right? Do you do year-round school, or do you do it based on Brevard Public Schools?
Yeah, we follow Brevard pretty close
Okay.
in their calendar.
So right along what he's saying is, if it increases, your enrollment increases next year, what are your thoughts? You're going to increase by another 15, another 20? What is the goal?
Yeah.
Perhaps we start there.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, we do have some long-term, I mean, we've accomplished so much, with us being a small school, of course, being accredited, and we went through so much, to gain some of the programs. And I do believe that, in the next 3 years, we do have some goals to grow. We don't want to stay 50 forever, right? But we do have in the next maybe 5 to 10 years to grow to maybe 150. Our cap is there, and I believe in schools, small classroom instruction is so important. I think now, as we see in the public schools, there's 40 kids. I mean, it's 30 kids and 25. They're big classrooms. And so I believe that for us, in order for us to continue to do what we do and to specialize in good small classroom instruction, I believe 150 is where we would cap it at, just to be safe. And we don't want to, like I said, we don't want to grow and then students get lost and parents get lost. We don't want that to happen. We want to be able to provide that for our students.
Okay. Do you have any other questions before we start asking staff?
Well, I'm on board. I love it. I love what you're doing and showing that it works. And I want you to succeed. But I don't want, like, we could set aside some extra time so we don't have this loophole of what is occurring now, and then somebody else has your position. They're coming for the next council trying to solve the issues that could have been solved today.
Right.
So I appreciate you being open with us about what's looking down range, because that helps us be open with you on what we can do. So.
Yes. Do you have any other questions?
No, I just want to find Mr. Batten was right, so I want to get there. That's all.
We have to see if there's a time frame on that.
Yeah.
So thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, Mayor, I know
Okay.
we looking to bring staff forward.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and have a seat, sir. So, Madam Chairman, I think that the questions are, the first question, I guess, is he's got a deadline. Is that correct? I mean, he's got a deadline to see a CUP. He can't do anything right now without it. Is that correct? Or
The previous conditional use did expire.
okay.
So he's here to get it restarted, and he's looking for that approval. So I guess a couple things. I was just talking to the city attorney about what we could provide in terms of recommendations for things that you could condition the approval upon. I don't know if I have any staff here who knows anything about the actual capacity of the school building in terms of, what building has approved them, fire marshal has approved them to have. But that could be a number we could potentially use. Like they couldn't exceed that. I did have staff pull some information for me regarding the traffic conditions on Port Malabar, and there's plenty of capacity on Port Malabar today. So, but that's a today condition, obviously, and that doesn't tell us what the future looks like. But I did investigate that because it's a little different than Pineapple in terms of its location. It's on a 4-lane road instead of just a 2-lane. So we did talk about that a little bit. But I don't actually have that number to prepare to share that with you if you wanted to use that as some sort of a detail to condition approval upon.
So what I'm hearing is we could set this CUP based on, say, no more than 60 students, so no more than 65 students, or what do you mean by the restrictions?
There are restrictions that are going to be based upon the building as far as what the building will allow. You can certainly have staff assume that he's going to have the highest number of building when factoring what the impact on traffic and parking is. But I wouldn't want us to arbitrarily just pick a number, especially because fire and building are going to tell them how many people they can have in there. And we just assume that although they have 50, when we do our calculations, that they will have the most. And that if we do that, we shouldn't have any adverse implications on either traffic or parking.
So, and that'll be based on parking and traffic as well as capacity. Is that correct?
Yes, and they'll all review that as part of the site plan that they're already doing.
And then that'll be part of the motion. Or it should be part of the motion as we move forward, if we're gonna approve this CUP.
I mean, I think staff they're doing the site plan. You can certainly direct them to use the highest capacity. I would think that they would already, but you could certainly put that in the motion if you want to make sure that staff is using the highest capacity based upon what the building itself would hold.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Councilman Johnson, any additional questions of our city attorney?
Is there anything that would need to be looked at in regards to kind of assisting with future expansion for everyone?
Now, if they want to expand the building beyond what it is now, they would certainly have to come with new permits, and then there would be that would trigger us to look. So everything now is going to be based upon what their capacity is now. Anything that they do in the future was going to trigger a whole new review.
All right. Okay. Deputy Mayor, any questions of the city attorney?
No, Mayor. I mean, obviously, for me, I mean, it's good enough for me. Well, one other thing that I think, we need to take into consideration, there's a lot of reference to Pineapple Cove. The situation's different in many aspects. And also, I'm putting myself in the applicant position. This project's been going on for what, 2 or 3 years. I'm sure a lot of efforts, money, financial commitment, families on hold, kids, or so I'm just not quite clear, I guess, why we having this debate. Although I can understand what we're trying to do, we're trying to be responsible planners, but we're leaning on these professionals that give the go, put their stamp of approval as to recommending this extension. I'm fine as is on this marriage.
Thank
so
you.
I'm ready to.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Instead of motion.
Well, I
Having
wanted
more
to give him, are there any other comments that you wish to get? Okay, so I'm closing the public hearing and asking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We are now on item number 4, public hearings. Madam Smith.
Ordinance 2024-08, an ordinance of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, amending the 2045 Comprehensive Plan to change the future land use map designation from commercial use to neighborhood center use, providing for the repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask the applicant to present their case.
Evening, Mayor, members of City Council, Madam Sherman, Madam City Attorney.
Madam Sherman.
I heard it.
I say Sherman is the last name, but people, I guess it's my New York accent. I don't know. It's Sherman.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Anyhow, my name is Kim Rosenka. I am here on behalf of the developer of Palm Bay Suites and Residence, a KIPSA group. With me tonight is James Garboski, the developer representative for KIPSA. Stavros, I can't say his last name, I'm sorry, the engineer of record with CCEI. Jim McKnight, the planning consultant. Daniela Gerardo, the traffic engineer with Bowman. Andy Conklin with Conklin Environmental Services. And Tim Campbell, the parking consultant from BRPH. We don't all intend to present, but they're here if you have questions. We have a PowerPoint here before you. Which Mr. Garboski will begin, then Mr. McKnight will talk, Ms. Gerardo will talk, and then I will sum up with the development plan. I do have for your consideration a resume of Jim McKnight. He is a professional planner with a planning master's and over 42 years in city government. I know you're all familiar with him. I'm just setting the record that he is a planning expert, and he has done the factors of analysis and has done some response to Lisa Frazier's. So with that, I'm going to pass these out to you, and I would bring up Mr. Grabowski.
I'll give it to them. Thank you, man. Just leave it with me.
This is the height.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is James Gabarski. I am with the SIPSA Group. Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the community. Thank you for letting us speak here today for our project that we present before you. I first want to thank all of you for the amazing work and time that you've put into our project, and the staff and the assistance of getting us to this point that we are at today. We've met with a lot of you, and you guys have all helped us. Thank you very much for that. We are here today to present the project on behalf of our company that we believe is a perfect addition to the city of Palm Bay. As you all know, the greatest city on the face of this earth. But first, a little bit about our company, SIPSA. We've concentrated on residential development for the last 45 years, serving the working class families in Argentina. They would have not been able to afford houses otherwise. In South America, it works a little bit different. There's no mortgage. SIPSA is the mortgage company for these homes. So throughout the years, they've established, and with that mindset, we've been able to deliver over 13,000 homes to the families in Argentina throughout the country in 9 different cities. We'd like to continue that same philosophy here and in every city that we launch. In the last 2 years, SIPSA has crossed the Atlantic and now is operating in a total of 6 countries, including Brazil, Paraguay, Panama, Israel, Chile, and with your blessing here tonight, making Palm Bay the first city in the US that would be launching a project. Here's some stats that we're going to present. We've developed over 5,000 acres, over $1 billion in investments. And I apologize, the booklets that are in front of you are the same as the presentation.
Yeah, we've got
each one designated with a page number. Should you need to make notes, you have it there. Over 13,000 homes have been delivered, over 100 developments, 12 different cities internationally, 3,700 plus jobs indirect, and over 400 jobs direct with SIPSA. There's a little map that represents what we just discussed. And now I will hand this over to Jim McKnight, and he will take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the opportunity to address you on this project. I am Jim McKnight, project planner for this project with SIPSA. I'd like you to first, let's take a look. And I'm already getting ahead of myself. Current situation, this shows the property on Robert J. Conlon. As you can see in the blue, it is 4 parcels that each one is divided by a roadway. The north and south parcels, one has a road on it, one does not. It does not have significant depth, and it certainly is in an area that has multiple uses: residential, industrial, limited commercial. It is kind of a unique area with the Palm Bay Colony Park to the west. Current situation is that there's a lack of buffering in this area. And also this property has significant wetlands. I'll get to percentages later on that, but we are making every effort to preserve as much of those as we can. Zoning currently is 100% commercial. And, you know, we want to continue to move with a project that is also going to have a positive impact on traffic. Commercial, when you look at it, it has a much higher rate. of traffic than that of multifamily. Now, obviously, we have a hotel, but even a hotel is lower on the spectrum of commercial. The Renaissance Corridor, which was a part of the economic development strategy that was adopted by this council, did not include this property. Okay, it was not included in that strategy that was adopted by the city council. It is just to the north. As you can see, we have a number of businesses that we've identified in the Palm Bay area that are currently in distress, either vacated, in a state of disrepair. Some may be looking at for redevelopment. I don't know the specifics on those, but there are a number that we have, and I can show you a few pictures. These are the different locations that we took pictures of that are current vacancies and not in a great state of repair.
Just for the record, Roxy, and so this is that's Melbourne, sir, just for the record.
Oh, okay. Well,
just one.
You got me there.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, yes. But we get the point that, you know, we have some vacancies and some state of disrepair. This basically reflects when the owners took over the property. It was really in a bad state. We had squatters, we had, unfortunately, we had encampments. It's not a popular name these days, but we also had, you know, drug deals and other things going out. We ended up with fires in there. So it was a number of things that were going out there. And I will say these people have gone in and they have cleaned it up. And the neighborhood to the west was very appreciative of that cleaning up of the area. What we did do was we put together what would be considered the maximum commercial project. It would include elimination of all the wetlands, and it would be a 981% increase of traffic above what we're proposing. Not saying above today, but you know, there will be traffic generated from any project. But in this case, the multifamily and the hotel will create less traffic by a significant percentage rate based on that. And the traffic engineer will address that in a minute. All right. Again, this is something for me. There were, as a city manager for 36 years, there were 3 complaints I got more than any other. A, residential speeding. I can't tell you how many times I got calls about that. Secondly, was my garbage wasn't picked up or my recycling wasn't picked up, as this other lady was talking about. Third thing I got was the back of vacant buildings and even active commercial buildings not being maintained, trash, graffiti, you name it on that. So those are things we don't want. I know the council doesn't want to see that, but it's one of the things you deal with when you have commercial up against residential. So this would be a mixed use project. There's a number of beneficial effects that this project would bring. I'm not going to read these to you, but it's a significant investment in this community of $120+ million. It will generate approximately $800,000 per year in tax roll, and which is over $44 million over 30 years. Creates new employment opportunities. It has an environmental preservation aspect to it as well with the wetlands. It will be enhanced security, reduced traffic over what could be there. And obviously the last thing, and something we know Palm Bay is looking for, is the hotel, conference, and convention area that would be built. And kind of, you'll see a map here in a minute that will say a little more about that. What are the benefits of a hotel? Well, again, creates great income back to the city, creates jobs, provides something that we believe the city of Palm Bay is looking for. It'll also have a restaurant and bar, which will be available to everybody. So it will be basically having another restaurant in the city. And it will address the needs and hotel accommodations of the people that you have that are employers in this area. And I didn't realize how many actual jobs are within a very short distance from this property. It's significant. I think Renaissance themselves has 350. So it's significant, L3 Harris and others. The residential aspect of it will create impact fees of over 1.5 million. It will create some direct jobs. It will help appreciate home values in the surrounding area. And it will also, one of the things that I think is important is it creates a sustainable work-life balance community. Okay, you have needs of your employers being met by having a certain number of residents. It's not high density. We're talking about a little over 11 units per acre. And I think Palm Bay Colony is about 6.8 units per acre. So it's not a significance in that, and it actually creates a step down in zoning. It will meet housing demand. And I know something else that's very important to this council is walkability. The community itself, the residential, will have walkability within it and connecting as appropriate to any of the public sidewalks as well. Is this yours? Okay. We're good. We're good. This is just some information. I'm not going to repeat it on that. You can see what the numbers are. This is interesting because this shows our site and it shows the hotels in the area. And if you were to put a circle around it, because you can go to the beaches as well, though we know you can't just, go across the river and go to a hotel. You got to go up to 192 and go across. But it shows kind of a hole in the donut, so to speak, of where you have employment centers, but you don't have any hotel availability in that area. And those are just some of the names of them as well. These are some of your major employers in the area. Two of your biggest ones there, L3 Harris and Renaissance, and then of course, within 2 miles is Northrop Grumman. Take a look at the project itself. These are the 4 parcels. Each one, again, divided by a street. The hotel would be on the south end, which would be closest to Renaissance. We have tried to create appropriate buffers on the backside using the wetlands in some cases. In other cases, we recognize we'll have to use enhanced landscaping to make sure that we give proper buffers to the residents to the west. But this gives you a better view and a better look at what we have. This is one of the most significant slides up here. 31% wetlands on the property. We'll have 32% green areas and retention ponds, 28% parking, and then 9% buildings. We've labeled each one of them kind of their own little area, but the 3 residence areas will be interconnected. They will have shared amenities and things like that. That's why walkability is so important for a project like this. Obviously, the hotel site is one we've had to work on, to work around. There is a slight impact into the wetlands on that in order to meet the numbers you need for parking. You just can't, not impact it and create the numbers that are needed. So, and again, we've tried to set the buildings in such a way that we're not facing them towards our neighbors to the west. As you can see, 3 of them face the road. We do have one that does face west, but it has been moved back significantly from the property. And if you see the 2 that are arrows that are facing each other, those 2 will actually be the areas we'll have to do significant landscaping on the west side to make sure that we're providing, again, it has a decent buffer, but we think landscape is going to be very important, probably some type of bermed landscaping as well. And with that, I'm going to sit down and shut up, and I'm going to let Daniela come talk about the traffic.
Thank you.
Trying to figure out this one. Good evening. I'm Daniela Jurado. I'm the traffic engineer with the project. So in September 2023, we met with the Palm Bay Colony residents, and their major concern was speeding of vehicles. Once they told us that, we were collecting the data for the traffic impact study for this development. And we also collected data for the speed along Herzog Boulevard, sorry. The results showed that vehicles were circulating along Herzog Road up to 40 miles per hour, which is actually 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. And we also found that the 85th percentile of the speed on those vehicles were from like 32 and 30 miles per hour. So basically what we proposed was to use traffic calming devices in this area. We are proposing speed humps or speed cushions. Oh, there I am. So we're proposing speed humps or speed cushions. The segment is about 1,000 feet length. So the recommendation is to use between 1 and 3 speed cushions in the segment. Why? Because the recommendation is between the 200 and 500 feet between each speed cushion or speed hump. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Kim Rosanka. I was a bit rushing into this. I didn't explain, we're actually looking for a neighborhood center, which is a new future land use. I think there are some that have come before you, but I'm not sure if anyone has approved. This process started when the comp plan was being changed, and this was suggested to us by your former growth management director. That's why we've come in here with neighborhood commercial. It is a mixed use neighborhood commercial. And then we also have a PDP, which is the next step, but we have to get through this. We're showing, what we intend to do so you know why we need the neighborhood commercial. It's intended to have 294 market rate apartments, a hotel with a conference center and restaurant that can house over between 450 and 500 for an event. And it would be right there on Robert Conlon. We do have sufficient parking. That was an issue that came up at planning and zoning, and so we have accommodated for that, which has caused the delay to get here. But we do have to impact an acre of wetland in that first parcel, so there is sufficient parking. Going forward with the PowerPoint, this is the rendering of the hotel. It has 64,500 square feet, 192 parking spaces, hotel units of 100. It'll have a pool, conference center, restaurant, lounge, bar, and fitness center. This is the conference venue of 4,500 square feet with a restaurant with pre-function space, a pool, and the parking does go around it. This was an earlier rendering, but you'll see that momentarily here. So again, 400 people, but again, depending upon the style, you can do 500 here. Weddings, the mayor's ball, corporate events, university lectures, county meetings, restaurant with 80 people. Again, this will be local for those that live in the apartments, also for Palm Colony members should they choose to come here. So this is the hotel design. There'd be a pool. Again, trying to protect as much of the wetlands as we can in the back to serve as a buffer. Then there will be 4-story buildings. There will be 3 of them. The first one, the total is 294. The first building next to the hotel moving north is 141 units. That's Ibis. Heron is 102, I believe, and Pelican is about 50. So there is a step down as well. There is residential to the east across Robert Conlon. There is some industrial uses, but it's mini storage. It's not a heavy industrial area. This is a perfect transition from Palm Colony to Robert Conlon and then across the street to a variety of different uses and land uses. This is the elevation of the residential, the rear view. This is the parcel 2, the next to the hotels with the pool, and they'll have shared amenities, and they'll have walkability between the 3 apartment sections of this project. This is you can see from the diagram, it's the 3rd parcel. This is Heron's residence, and it has kids' play equipment. It has the wetlands to be protected, a pickleball court. You see the pickleball and the playground. Then this is the 4th parcel with, again, more of the apartments, residential amenities. This is, again, the mixed-use project under Neighborhood Center. Neighborhood Center is intended to accommodate high residential densities complemented by neighborhood scale commercial and office use. And again, this is a bar, lounge, restaurant, conference center. It will the tax roll, job creation over 50, increase residential supply, reduce traffic from what could be there if there was commercial, all commercial. In fact, when we had the community meeting, we invited over 300 people because of the distance. Over 40 attended, and they were happy it wasn't going to be commercial. They were pleased that we were having the buffers and protecting the environment. So they overall were happy with it. I don't know how many here. I think one person spoke in opposition to it at Planning and Zoning. So this is wetlands protection and buffering, the walkability, connectivity, the parking. We didn't want to put a large parking garage. We know those are unattractive. So we've worked with there's a parking study in your packet. BRPH prepared it. If you have questions about that and the adequacy, we have someone here to talk about it. Also, there are 3 additional conditions that we'd like you to consider. It's more for the PDP, but we want you to know that these are things that we would like to give to the city. First, the hotel construction would begin first. It'll be the first phase. Second, we agree to set aside 10 units to first responders, police, and teachers that live in the city at a 25% reduction of rate. These are market rate, but we're going to give first come, first serve to residents of Palm Bay that work in first responders and teachers. And third, traffic calming devices, as Daniela discussed, as allowed by the city, because the residents did say there are a lot of people that cut through to Lipscomb, and they're concerned that these residents might as well, or people coming to the hotel conference center. So if we can put traffic calming devices, signs, whatever the city will allow to help the Palm Bay Colony folks, because this is their community and we want to help them if we can. I believe you all have seen the letters of support. We've had the community come out, Renaissance, Florida Tech, Summit Shop in Southeast Petro, Dwayne Watson, Mike Jaffe from the Home Builders and Contractors, Palm Bay Chamber, Nancy Peloton, I always say that name wrong. Sorry, Nancy.
Peltonen.
I always say it wrong. And she is here in support. And also Mark Capizzola with the Palm Bay Colony Club homeowners, and one of the local bar and grill, Morels. So I did want to mention, we do have community support. People seem to be excited about having a hotel in the middle of the donut. There's only 3 other hotels in Palm Bay that are even near here. So we believe this will be a good addition. And we believe that we meet your comprehensive plan. I know there's a staff report that says maybe we don't. We disagree. Mr. McKnight has put a factors analysis and a response in the record. And we believe this would be a great addition to Palm Bay. So with that, we would ask approval of the comprehensive plan amendment to neighborhood commercial. And then if that goes, then we can go into the PDP in more detail. But we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Well, first of all, ma'am, I think the biggest question you answered. You said you were going to commence, and I know that there were commence the hotel, build the hotel first.
Yes, we're going to commence building first, phase 1.
Yeah, and that really excited me for that opportunity. for those, I'm looking at the venue. Right now, the city of Palm Bay doesn't have a venue. And so for us to have a venue, it's something that I've been asking for since I got on this dais, as my colleagues can attest. So I'm excited that there is someone that's willing to invest in our community in this capacity. I will share a little bit of the concern that I have with the hotel or the conference venue. I checked out the Hilton up in Melbourne, the Rialto, since you mentioned the Mayor's Ball, right? And it's just over 6,500 square feet, if I remember correctly. And so my thought process is you have 1,781 square feet of pre-function. Can you add 500 of those square feet to the conference venue? Is that possible, or is that set in stone the way it's?
This is a preliminary development plan that you'll see next if we get through the comp plan. And no, it's not set in stone. It says the developer's representative.
But what is set in stone is that you will build the hotel first.
Yes, sir. And that can be a condition of the PDP.
That I have no additional questions at this time. Councilman Johnson, do you have any questions? Deputy Mayor?
The question I have for now would be, I want some clarity as far as the concern about speed,
Yes.
the concern of the resident, and traffic engineer mentioned something about speed bump. Can somebody elaborate on that? Where would those place, or how? Not on RJ Conlin, if I understand.
No, Ursa.
No,
Okay.
Airsoft Boulevard.
Okay.
So the posted speed limit on Airsoft Boulevard is 25 miles per hour. Using this, it's 24. Yeah. Next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, thank you. I
yeah.
must have missed that. Yeah, I wasn't clear on that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that is subject to our traffic engineering as well, if I'm understanding this correctly. So I think in order for that to occur, the residents have to sign up for that. Is that the process? now?
Yes, sir. There's more evaluation that would need to be done.
Okay, copy that. But what they're saying is that they're willing to do it at their expense. Is that what I'm hearing? Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. No additional questions? Then let's have the speakers. Any speakers for this item, sir?
So we were going to have Mark Pizzola, who's the HOA president for Palm Bay Colony. Unfortunately, his wife has been hospitalized, so he wasn't able to make it today. He apologized. But he also wrote a letter in there as well. So I just want to let you guys know, because he was expected to be here as well. They're in support, hence the slide that you're looking at and all the speed traffic we discussed when we had the meeting back in September. So we're taking initiatives to appease whatever the community needs, and that's the big deal. And we've got that submitted in the reports as well.
All right, thank you. Thank you. And we're adding that for the record. Any speaker cards on this?
Yes, sir. Ms. Gloria Scalise, is that correct?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes. I am the real estate agent who has been working with James extensively on this site. I've been a land acquisition specialist for about 8 years and have spent about 35 in Palm Bay and Melbourne, just growing up here. I would like to speak to a previous concern from a prior meeting regarding the development of retail on this site versus the multifamily. And I would like to share with you a statement that just came out from our specific Brevard MLS regarding the market conditions in Palm Bay specifically. It reads that demand for retail spaces continue to slow down. Compared to the early months of 2023, net absorption has seen a significant reduction, falling by approximately 30 percentage points. So in order for someone like myself to convince a retailer to come and invest their time and their energy and their business name in a site right now is very, very difficult to do, especially as we see the success of Hammock Landings. But as you continue to move towards the Harris and the industrial area, you don't see the retail being supported. It would pretty much implode upon itself. However, the desire for multifamily is strong because with these tremendous companies bringing hundreds of very highly paid engineers and defense workers to the area, when someone goes to look for a rental or to go move to a new market, they're going to rent that first year. They're not going to make a shotgun decision about where to spend $500,000 purchasing a home. But they will look, what does my next year look like? Where do I want to rent? And they're going to be looking for, number one, the proximity from work to home, and then what amenities are surrounding it. So you have lots of amenities on Palm Bay Road, but by the time that this project, if approved tonight as multifamily, would actually be developed and ready, all of the surrounding projects that we have from Aqua North to Hammock, or West Shore and East Shore, they're all going to be 8, 10, 5, 6 years old. They're going to be needing exterior and interior facelifts. And this project would give a new, modern, trendy feel to the area that keeps people wanting to come and live in Palm Bay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I think you sent 2 cards for both items. Is that correct, Ms. Glory?
I submit one card just
Okay.
either number 4 or 5.
Mr. Batten? Oh, that's for 5. I apologize. Yeah. No, you good.
Did you? Okay. Okay. No other speakers?
No.
Ma'am, did you want to, Mr. Zenka, did you want to approach for your last comments on this?
Just appreciate your time listening to us. And if you have any more questions, otherwise we would ask that you approve the comprehensive plan amendment for the entire 4 parcels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, not necessarily a question. But I mean, this is by far a project that in every aspect, to me, it's pretty much touched on every aspect. It's by far a great project. I can start listing the different facet of it that I appreciate. The only thing I would ask, and you touch on that, the 10 units. So this is a project that offered 294 units. My concern, as we build out, we are now about 60% developed. We have about 40 more to build. It's housing. Housing is always in the forefront. Market rate. My concern is my young police officer. I'm glad you mentioned that 10 units. Again, it's the number. I was really hoping to hear a little more out of 294. More than 10. Now, really, my sweet spot is 10%. I mean, dedicated to affordable and workforce housing, not just a 25%. I know it's asking a lot, but this is something that as we move forward, as we build out, I'm afraid my young teacher, my young police officer or firefighter, because I believe the calculation, and don't quote me on that, it's 3 times the monthly rate. For them to be a young police officer that makes about $40,000 may not be able to qualify for a 1 or 2 bedroom at market rate. That is my concern. So as we build out, and this is not for you guys, this is something I will start preaching until people start paying attention. I love this project. I want to support. I mean, by far, like I said, this is probably one of the best since I sit on this dais. Every aspect of it. It's a great project. I'd love to see the developer take consideration, increase these units. Like I said, I want to keep my firefighters, my police officers, my teachers, or my McDonald's manager to stay in the city they love, where they work. So 10 units is not enough. I'd like to see 10% of this project.
And that's
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I haven't closed the public hearings yet, so come forward and respond to that concern.
Hi, James Gabarski again, representing the developer, SIPSA. We are not set in stone on the unit counts. We're willing, to be flexible. One of the conditions, and this is something I'll have to consult Kim on, but we'd be more than happy to, as you phase in the build out of them, to have the counts available earlier than later, so that, when you're first constructing, we have maybe 5 units immediately available on those first 2 buildings, and you're not waiting for the full 6 buildings to be done, which makes it harder for people who have to be on a wait list. So both on the count, we're willing to work with you on, and on the availability as we're doing the construction phase. Does that make sense?
So what I think he's asking for is 10%. There's 294 units.
That would be 29 units.
That'd be 29. How close can you get to that 29 units, I guess, is what he would be.
I'm not comfortable answering that right now,
Okay.
to be 100% honest,
Okay.
but I think we can get to 15 without a problem.
Okay. 15.
Yeah.
I
mean, I could say that.
You can
comfortably. I
commit to
can't.
15 as opposed to 10
Correct.
today,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, that's a good start, Mayor. But again, I appreciate the project. I appreciate the investment in taking Palm Bay into consideration. This is something we're going to build on moving forward, and I truly appreciate. I want to put it on record. 10% is really a sweet spot.
Right.
The closest we can get to it. I think as we build out, what I don't want to do, us reaching 80%, and we cannot retain our workforce.
Right.
Living in Palm
I
Bay,
understand.
the city
Understood.
they
Sure.
love. So I'd really love to. 10% is my sweet spot, but I'm ready to support this project.
Right.
But taking
It's a
that,
deep consideration.
you guys taking that in
No, absolutely. And
consideration,
we've had
and also
internal discussions both with, the directors and our staff here to open it up of who the candidates are, right? Because the same thing we've been discussing that's happening in California, you've got police officers driving 4 hours to be able to have a house. So we get it, and we don't want you, the whole reason why we want the conference center, we don't want you guys to give business to other cities
That's it.
when you need
That's
it
it.
here.
That's
So
it.
there's a lot of things that went into our thought process to invest here and to try to support your needs. And there'll be an ongoing conversation, very flexible. We're about communities and everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So we're not closed-minded. We're not, numbers and numbers, metrics. I mean, we don't want to go to the affordable housing route, right? Because then that just blows it up to another monster. And so we're choosing to stay with this plan.
Listen, you're
Yeah,
satisfied? Because I
that's
want to,
fine.
the very first thing I want to say is I truly appreciate you choosing Palm Bay.
Thank you.
We've been looking to get a convention center type opportunity with a hotel for as long as, even before I've been on the dais. I've been just the man crying in the wilderness to get this done, right? So I'm really excited about your willingness not only to invest in our community, but at the same time, you're flexible for these things. We can't be putting restrictions on you in that capacity. It is a demonstration of your heart, willing to really invest in our city
Right.
for our law enforcement and our first responders. So I don't have any other questions. I'm going to close the public hearing so that we could start discussing this project. All right, sir?
Thank you.
Do you have any last comments?
That'd be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other speaker cards. I'm closing the public hearing, and I'm going to pass the gavel, Deputy Mayor, and I'm going to move this item.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess I'll start, gentlemen. As you know, this is probably, and you touched on this, Deputy Mayor, this is a well thought out plan to not only protect the wetlands, but to take into consideration what the city really needs. This city needs a venue to be able for the Renaissance, for the L3 Harrises to go right down the street, be able to have individuals stay in that hotel and have a function in that hotel, have a conference. And I am so appreciative that this has actually occurred. for this project to be before me. I'm also motivated about the fact that the leaders of this project not only thoroughly looked at the parking spaces, taking care of our wetlands, taking care of amenities. This project does have the ability of increasing others to come to our area. The opportunity for businesses to have functions in that venue. Then I love what he said. He's willing to go above the 10 rooms or the 10 apartments. That's important. I mean, he didn't have to do that. So I really appreciate this. So that's why I moved the item. Councilman Johnson, you seconded the motion. You're good? All right, so I'm calling the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, as you were. Carry on. I passed the gavel.
I
That's-
give me the
that's you.
opportunity to call the question.
As you were, sir. I'm in the habit. Sorry, sir. I digress.
All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. All right, next, Madam Smith, we're on item number 5.
Resolution 2024-04, a resolution of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, granting approval of a preliminary development plan for proposed mixed-use subdivision to be known as Palm Bay Suites and Residences in HC Highway Commercial District zoning, with a tentative zoning of PUD, Plan Unit Zoning Development, which property is located west of and adjacent to Robert J. Conlon Boulevard in the vicinity south of Commerce Park Drive and legally described herein, providing for filing of the final development plan application, providing for effective date.
Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask the applicant to present their case.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of City Council. Kim Rosenka on behalf of Asitza, the developer. I have for you the PDP, which I'd like to pass out for you. So with the approval of the comp plan to neighborhood commercial, now we have the PDP. This shows the 294 market rate apartments, the 100-room hotel with the conference venue. The first page has all 4 tracks that we've discussed previously. It's 26.5 acres. Again, first parcel will be the hotel. That can be a condition of the PDP. And then I suspect, but don't know for sure, they'd be moving forward to the north. The second parcel has 141 units. The third parcel has 102 units. The third parcel has 51 units, an average density of 11.13 apartment units plus the hotel. So I have the engineer here of record that can go through all of the site data, but most importantly, the staff report does say we meet the requirements of your code and essentially recommends approval of this PDP. There are 2 waivers that need to also be approved with this PDP. It's in the conditions of the staff report, number 5, to waive a portion of the wetland area from gross site acreage, because the way your code reads, we have to calculate open space on wetlands, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But so Ms. Fraser was gracious and said, yes, this makes sense. You shouldn't have to have open space for wetlands. So that's one waiver. And then the second waiver is the length of the hotel. We're asking for 229 feet. Your code only allows 200 feet. So that's a waiver that we request to be approved with the PDP, along with the conditions of the hotel as the first phase of construction, the setting aside of units, and the traffic calming devices to be paid by the developer if approved by the city engineer and as wanted by the Palm Colony HOA. So we're here to answer any questions. The engineer is here. We have the environmental consultant. We have the architect. We have the planner that did the parking study. So if you have any questions about this PDP, we're happy to answer them. Otherwise, we would ask for your approval with the waivers and those conditions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Any questions? Do we have any speaker cards, Deputy Mayor? Okay.
So Ms. Gloria Skillis, you're good? You're good. No, okay. Mr. Batten?
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I only had one question on this one, and I've seen it answered pretty much during the process of the presentation. When I was looking through the plan layout and I saw the hotel, I couldn't see what the breakdown was within the packet that I could see. So my question was this hotel, was the room going to be big enough to accommodate the mayor's ball? That's what my primary question was. And I hear that that's going to be it, because I normally don't speak in favor or against items, but that was my only question because that was not in the packet. And that was it. So I'm looking forward to this. I can see some positive with this, and it was something that is definitely due. And I appreciate looking out for my police force. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Batten, is 4,500 square feet proposed, but I was asking for another 500. Any other speaker cards? Do you have any other comments, Ms. Rosanka?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm advised that we need to ask that that 7-page packet be attached to the ordinance. Is that correct for the PDP? And that recognizing that small changes could occur between the PDP and the final development plan. Yeah, that's what my planning consultant told me I needed to ask. So,
Madam Attorney?
Is this the only application that they have is what they submitted to us, or have they submitted something to? If we can have,
it's the same, except it does actually have on the hotel conference venue, but it's the same plans that were submitted.
Mr. Frazier? Thank you.
Good evening, Lisa Frazier, Director of Growth Management. I don't know what's in front of you. I'm presuming that, of course, Ms. Rosanka is stating that what is in front of you was submitted previous to this meeting. What I wanted to state is that staff has not reviewed it in accordance with our plans, but as we spoke to the planning consultant, we stated that if you adopt this PDP this evening, that we will make whatever required changes need to be made to meet our code prior to the FDP. Does that make sense? That's the one thing that we are requesting, because we have not had a chance to make sure that what you have in front of you meets our codes. There were obviously changes made to accommodate the event space.
And there were 2 waivers that were mentioned.
No, those were approved the first time through.
Okay, so the 229 feet
A little
was approved,
longer.
that waiver?
Correct, because
Okay.
our code requires a 200-foot hotel, and we granted them a waiver in that to be a little longer.
Okay.
And then also recognizing the extensive wetlands that cover the entire property, we gave them a little relief on the open space, because it kind of is open space. So
Wetlands.
there
are-
you go.
Yes, sir. I'm
And
tracking.
we'll keep those waivers in place, but we haven't really looked at it as far as the additional parking and the pedestrian ways.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you, ma'am. Any
Thank you.
questions from Lisa? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and move the item.
Second.
I'll go. Again, I'm really excited about this opportunity. Thank you for investing in our community. I'm really excited you're going to do the 5,000 square feet conference center in our, and, okay. Yeah, New York style's a lot better pizza. I guess. I don't know. It wouldn't be a problem. Any type of restaurant would actually be good in that area, actually, in hindsight. But I really appreciate you investing in our community at a time that we truly need this. Now, my only question is, I know you're going to build that up first. What time frame are we looking at? I close the public hearing. You can't answer that.
I made the motion. I just wanted yesterday.
Wait.
I just
Mayor, I mean, Deputy Mayor, if the city attorney can answer, that should be required in this motion, correct, city attorney?
Yes, it's already in our resolution that we attach. If you look in section 2, which is why I was asking if this was something different. Section 2, the preliminary development plan incorporated herein as Exhibit A is granted subject to staff comments contained in the staff report, which is by reference incorporated as Exhibit B. So we already have those incorporated. So I was trying to find out if they were asking for something different than what we already do. And it appears it's not.
No, I'm meaning for the hotel to be built first.
Oh, yes, that is a condition. Actually,
It needs to be in the motion, correct?
you actually have several conditions. You have the hotel being built first. We have the traffic. We have the traffic calming devices. You have the 15, or was it minimum 15 units? So was there another one? Four.
Yeah.
We have another one. 3. Okay. So yes.
Okay, so
And Ms. Rosanka stated them all, and we will actually pull those when we actually place those in the resolution, because she stated those earlier. And so those are the ones she came up and said, these are the ones that we are agreeing to pretty much at the beginning, which included the hotel being built first and minimum 17, this traffic calming. We will actually use that language when we incorporate it into the resolution, which is those are the same things that you all are saying that you're moving to have as a condition, correct?
okay, so do you need me to withdraw my motion and just restate it?
What was your motion was without those additional conditions?
Yeah,
that they agreed to?
I don't remember saying any of that. I just moved the item. So I'm going to withdraw, or you have to withdraw the second.
I already want a second.
All right. So my motion is to move this item with the hotel of 5,000 square feet venue be built first. Then second, traffic calming devices based on the HOA and our traffic analysis and our traffic engineer. And then third, 15, a minimum of 15 homes for workforce development or apartments.
Correct.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a second by Councilman Johnson. So I think we've discussed this enough. Deputy Mayor, you have the gavel.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
3-0. All right, congratulations. We're getting a venue here next week. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Staff. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. We are now on consent, and we're on item number 2.
Mr. Bill Batten.
A good one.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. When I was going through the packet and looking at the software whole setup, I noticed that it was $2.5 million for the total package and $240,000 annually, right? But I'm just curious exactly what all this is going to be, because that's a big chunk of money. You know, I saw that it was implementing, training, all kinds of stuff that's coinciding with it, but I still thought that $2.5 million was a lot in conjunction with the $240,000 annually, right? So the other question that generated was, why such a long lead time for the implementing of 2 years for implementing this change? And that's what I didn't understand why it's going to take so long. If it's such a good thing that we had to have it, such a high price tag, and, you know, Batten being the dummy that he is, in two years, the software is going to be outdated. That's my concept. We're looking at just the implementation of it for 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman?
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is a complete replacement of the software that runs basically the backbone of everything the city does. We have an antiquated system that we use that has very limited functionality. We've had it for decades, and we already pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in support costs annually for that software. And that kind of price tag for things like this to run your entire system, so your finance, your accounting, your budget, your payroll, kind of everything you do, that's not unusual. So those prices are pretty standard, and the cost for the old system that we pay annually, those will obviously no longer be paid to the old system. They go into the new system. The system we're getting into, Workday, and this item is actually not about Workday, but it's about the implementation firm. The system we're getting into is a modern system, which means it's constantly updated. It's not like our old one where we had to keep paying for things to get pushed forward. So it's a modern system. It won't be outdated by the end of the 2-year period. The reason it's taking us 2 years, and we strategically chose to do it in that manner, is because of the significant change it's going to have on the operations of virtually every department in the city. We're going from a lot of processes that are manual, that are paper-based, that are inefficient because the old system doesn't have the capacities that new systems have. So we have to it's not just taking an old software and putting in a new one. We actually have to build new processes to fit with the new system and train staff through that. So it's a huge undertaking, and every department will be better for it. We're very excited about it. It'll bring a lot of efficiency to the city, but we have to take that time to do it right the first time.
Thank you, ma'am. I need a motion. Got a motion by Deputy
Second.
Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We're now on item number 3. Oh, was it 3 or 4? 4, as you were 4.
Mr. Bill Batten?
I normally speak against the city Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I normally speak against city spending money on budgets, but this time I'm going to speak in favor of it. And that reason being, I want a well-trained police force protecting me. And it's great if you're looking at stationary targets, but most things in today's society, when doo-doo hits the fan, they're not stationary. So I prefer that they get trained on these moving targets. So I'm in favor of this. $125,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker cards? I need a motion.
So moved.
I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We're now on item number 5.
Mr. Batten?
Resolution 2024-16, a resolution of the City of Palm Bay, Brevard County, Florida, scheduling a special election to be held in conjunction with the regular municipal election on November 5th, 2024, to elect a successor to serve the remainder of the initial term of City Council Seat 5 due to the resignation of Peter Filiberto, establishing the qualifying period to file for council, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Deputy Mayor?
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. You can't tell me we're not the laugh of the county with this consent agenda item coming up to us. What is it, 18 months later, here we are, we're now asking for a special election. And you just from the optics of that simple statement, look where we are as a city of Palm Bay. Right? It has something to say with how we got here. I'm just curious of why we have to have this special election when we're already in a regular election cycle. Why is it going towards a special election for seat 5? I'm anticipating, which means second guessing, that I'm going to hear some kind of rationale that says, well, it's because seat 5 was not in the same charter as the other seats. That's why we're holding special. But I don't know. It didn't say any of that in the packet that I was trying to read. So maybe you can answer it for me. But just from the optics alone, we've had a vacant seat, we've had missing people. I'm talking 18 months now. And now we have to hold a special election. That's the first statement. The second question is, if it's a special election, what is the cost of this special election going to be? Because that was part of the argument in the past for special elections. So I just need some clarification. And hopefully we won't continue to be the laughing stock when it comes to elections in the city of Palm Bay. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
Yes, sir. Since the vacancy wasn't filled by appointment by council, section 3.062 of the charter actually requires that the vacancy be filled by a special election and in a manner that is coordinated by the city clerk with the supervisor of elections and adopted by resolution of the city council. So the adoption of resolution by the city council is a requirement of the charter since no one was appointed to fill the seat.
And would you happen to know about the cost, or is there a cost because we're having a general election today?
We have not actually received the official estimate from the supervisor of elections, but we are estimating approximately 15,000. 11,000 would be the primary, and then 4,000 would be the special.
Yeah, but
Right,
this
that would be the total. But
this seat doesn't have a primary. Is that correct?
correct.
Yes.
And the reason it doesn't have a primary, are you able to elaborate on that, Madam Attorney? Or
That
Madam Clerk?
that is something we have typically not done. If you think about it, we had a special election when Mr. Filiberto initially took the seat, and we just did one election. There was no primary election then when we did the special election.
So is it by charter that is it because it's just called a special election that there's no primary?
Yes, it is what we have decided, and it's certainly that was part of the you all doing the resolution to decide what the manner was. And we provided the resolution, the manner in which we've only had one special election that I know of, and that's consistent with the manner that we conducted that special election. It was just the direct election of him. We didn't have a primary in the previous special election.
I see. So it's based on it being a special election. I got it. Okay, I need a motion. Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. Any discussion, gentlemen? Deputy Mayor, I'll just say that we still need to work on bringing back the opportunity for others. I believe it's flawed, as both of you know. The process at this point, I believe that there should be an opportunity if there's a vacancy that we are able to have a special election, not wait till the next opportunity of a general election. All in favor, signify
Mayor?
by saying, yeah.
Can I just point of clarification? I just wanted to add more of a reminder for the 70% of our electorates that voted for a charter amendment that this body didn't honor. That's what makes us there. Just so you all remember, if you're watching, you voted, 71% of you voted for a charter amendment that this council failed to follow. That's what gets us there.
Well,
just
Deputy Mayor,
just wanted to put it on.
Well, let me
put it up.
remind you that in the charter, when people voted, it said if the body does not elect within a certain period of time, then there will be a special election. What was added after that was the misconception that the special election would be at a general election. And that's where the discussion was. And also the discussion was in all of that, Deputy Mayor, was that I believe that system was flawed because there was no accountability to when that application came in and when we submitted those votes. So I made that public as well. So I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now on item number 8.
Mr. Batten.
So Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. So with the transfer from the county to the city of this landmass, I noticed that it says utility, recreation, or green space, right? Now, my question with that is because there's a new development coming in right there where this is at. Is this going to be considered part of their green space within their development? Or is it just going to be a green space within the city and they're planning a road on it that's too small for road? That's why I ran into more questions. If it wasn't big enough for a road, is it planning on being a road? And yet it's designated utility and recreation. I just had more questions of what was going to happen. And my hope is that it's not just going to be considered as part of this new development's green space. That's what my fear is going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman?
Thank you, sir. That's a great question. My understanding is we don't have any plans for it. We just kind of, we discovered it recently that it was still owned by Brevard County. So this is simply transferring the ownership to us. I do not know that there's any plans for it at this time, but we'll certainly keep an eye on that. I understand your point, sir.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Well, item number 9.
Mr. Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street Southwest. I know it seems like I pull a lot of consent agenda items, but there's a lot of good discussion that happens as a result of that. And I do a lot of this just to make sure that the city hears what's being said. Right? With that, on this fair share from the Heritage Square Partners, the total project of the transportation improvements is $4.1 million. That's for the St. John's Heritage Parkway and Malabar Road. The improvements on it is $4.1 million. Their fair share is $872,000, which is a chunk of change. Actually, their fair share would be $882,000. There was a $10,000 difference, but overall, $872,000 is their fair share that they're going to be paying, and goes into a bond or whatever it sits in holding. But that leads to the next question. This large amount of their fair share is because of the growth within the city and it's still the impact on our infrastructure. So if they're willing to come up with $872,000, which they're doing, that still leaves that big chunk, $4.1 million total bill that has to be paid in order for the infrastructure to meet the criteria where it needs to be. And I don't see any of that in the planning or how we're going to accomplish that objective. It's great that they're paying their fair share, but that didn't solve the infrastructure problem. So we're still sitting with the same dilemma. We've increased the population, we've increased the tax base, but we have not improved the infrastructure that this is impacting on. And I'm just curious, who's going to come up with the other $3.8 million? And how, why, when, and where would we expect to see that? Because that's a major intersection, St. John's Heritage Parkway and Malabar. I'm just looking, we're watching the growth, but without seeing the infrastructure growth that goes with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman, you want to break down the fair share?
Sure. So there's several other things that are components of this. This is not the only development in that area, of course. So there are other developers that have been approved, will be approved at different stages, who will contribute also their fair share to the same project that we're talking about. The city, recognizing the importance of this project, has already done other things to try to move this into a place of higher priority, because we know both Malabar and St. John's Heritage Parkway are so significant. So by way of example, we've applied for state appropriations to help us with the design of the roadway for St. John's Heritage Parkway. We're actually putting in just this week, in fact, a federal earmark request because this is one of our project priorities, to seek funding from the federal government for the construction of the bridge over the C1 canal. That just recently happened. But one of the conversations we have frequently about these major road projects like Malabar and the Parkway, Babcock even, is we're really getting to a point where we're going to have to look at probably some debt service options, because truly the money that you need to do some of these multi-million-dollar projects, it's very hard to find. So we're taking steps. We've got some seed money, I'll call it, into the project, and other that's potentially on the horizon. But the TIF money that we need, it comes a little bit later, and we have some of those needs more currently. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
Yes, ma'am. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We're now on item number 11.
Mr. Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. Uniform relocation assistance. When I went through the packet, I didn't see a maximum that could be available in any one of the categories that we were looking at. And I've seen where we've assisted in other projects, and it turned out that we were paying more than what the market value was and stuff like that. Since I didn't see anything that gave me a guideline or a reference on that of where we were heading. I understand that this is to try and set a policy, but even in the policies, I'd like to see some kind of a cap or something that gives some kind of recognition, because otherwise you're just giving money away. If I don't see some kind of a maximum amount someplace or some kind of a percentage or something, it just makes me nervous, because hate to say this, I've seen things that, well, you're my buddy, you're going to get a little bit more than this person over here. I like some accountability or some kind of guidance within that documentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman?
For this one, sir, I'll have to defer to our acting Community and Economic Development Director, E.B. Sperardi.
Good evening. To answer the question, it is built into the budget line item. When Macedonia came forward last year and they wanted to they needed assistance with home funds to purchase the triplex or acquire the triplex and rehabilitate it. That was one of the budget line items that they needed to address as to how much they would be putting forward. They also brought money into the project. It wasn't just, here's all the money that we have for home. So I can go back into the agreement and pull up that budget line item. But what they got, or what they were given, was to acquire and to rehabilitate. There was 3 tenants currently living in those units. Since then, one has moved out. So one unit is empty. One tenant decided on their own to leave the city. So it's actually a cost savings for us. Although we're trying to reach out to them just to let them know, hey, this is something that is available, because we have to follow that checklist. That's why we updated our policy, because we didn't have those policies and procedures in place. And the last one, they're still looking for a comparable unit. So it's not going to be 3 tenants that we thought we were going to be servicing or trying to relocate. And we're not relocating them. That falls back on the agency.
That's the agency.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Deputy Mayor Felix. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. We are now on item number 18.
Mr. Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. This was just real simple question on this one, I think. Will this software interface with the new $2.5 million software that we've just got ordered under consent agenda item number 1? I'm just saying, if we're spending this money on these different softwares? Are we getting something that's going to interface back and forth? Are you going to end up like Bill Batten where I download the city's website and because of the new updates, I don't get to see everything. I just want my software to interface properly. I'm not sure if it will or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Sherman?
For this one, I'll defer to Brian Robinson, IT Director.
Brian Robinson, IT Director. So this software is what we use for our e-permit application. And so what will happen here, we're expanding the e-permit application to accommodate for developer credit agreements tracking. So this will actually integrate with our new Workday software.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, Mr. Robinson.
Yes, sir.
You're doing an outstanding job with our IT.
Thank
All
you, sir.
these things that are going on, direct reflection on your leadership. So thank you and thank your entire team. Even the things that are classified that we should be able to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I need a motion.
Second.
I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes 3-0. Gentlemen, we're going on to procurements now, but before we do, I'm going to take a 5-minute recess.
Make it 3, Mayor.
3 minutes? Okay, I'm going to call this meeting back to order. We are now on procurement item number 1. And thank you for the recess. Madam Sherman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is a follow-up to an item we brought you at a prior council meeting where we had 6 fire vehicles we were looking to purchase, and you all authorized the funding for the purchase. 4 of those vehicles have been very difficult to locate through our normal piggyback contract procedures. So we're asking to use the expedited quoting process where we go directly to all the dealers that might potentially have the vehicles on the lot, and that is what we've done. We've been able to identify specific vendors that we don't normally deal with, but they have the type of vehicle we need. So it's just a request to do a little different procurement process. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And Deputy Mayor, you have speaker cards?
No, sir.
Okay, so I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Second it.
Okay.
I got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Mayor Medina. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We are now on new business item number 1. Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. This is consideration of a co-sponsorship request for the third Haitian Flag Day celebration, parade, and soccer tournament at Fred Poppy Regional Park. I believe that the applicant may be here to present the item.
Okay, can we have the applicant step forward? Come on up. Oh, it's Mr. Blaze. I didn't make you out with the cover there.
Man, how y'all doing, everybody? My name is Jefferson Blaze. As you guys can see in the item, we are we already in communication with the city of Palm Bay regarding the co-sponsorship. So, you guys have any questions?
Do you have any questions, Deputy Mayor or Councilman Johnson?
Yeah, yes, Mayor, because with every one of these co-sponsorship events, we're looking to see what the value is being brought up. So if you can elaborate more on the value, we're looking to invest time, and that's the true investment right there is time. We're looking to invest time and monetary value. So what is the value that this event is going to bring to the city of Palm Bay in regards to, all of the community?
As it is a third annual event that we put for Boulevard, as you guys are aware of what's going on in the Haitian community as well, the Haitians that's diaspora in our country, the things that we are facing in our country. We're trying to bring a peace of mind and let it come so we can bring the community, not only in the Haitian community, but the outside of Haitian community to see like what the Haitian community really bring to Boulevard. Not just for them to come celebrate, watch a soccer game together, but as well display to the beautiful city of Palm Bay of what it is like with all our different Caribbean communities that's here in Palm Bay, Florida. And a lot of the young people are going to be out there. It will be something for the young people to do, as they have been asking for events, they've been asking for activities. That's one of the things that you see the young people come out and celebrate, not just again in the Haitian community, but in the Caribbean community and as well as home in the American community.
So is it going to be a game that all kids, if they want to play, they can play soccer, or is it more so just certain teams? I'm just trying to see the level of involvement. So
they are within the event, there are different part of the phase of the event where the whole community can be active. There will be Caribbean food, there will be American food, there will be soccer. As far as like the team, we put teams together, such as the American team, we have the Jamaican team, we have team that's coming from Miami that will be taking part in it. As the event go over here, this is our third annual. We'll be going against the other countries that will be coming here in Boulevard to play soccer against them. Yes, there will be multiple people can take part of it.
Is the food FREE?
That's
his line.
What you say, sir?
Is the food, is the pickles, is the grill, is it gonna be free?
The food, yes. As far as we can tell, the after event such as, but as far as the food, it will be American culture food, cheese, hot dog, and such.
Okay, so so the reason why I'm asking, because here's the opportunity. That's why I'm trying to find a balance with these co-sponsorships. And just like you mentioned with the special election, I feel like this is something that's flawed that we can fix, but we'll get into that another time. But I know I've had Haitian meals, and that's something that can just bring somebody together in regards to understanding your culture.
As we put food together, especially if you're doing an event as we are doing, there are regulations and things that we have to follow for such things. That's why we stated like the after events, such as you can come to Kasika and take a refreshment. But as far as the meal itself, I don't believe it will be the Haitian meal. But as far as the fund, the co-sponsorship, everything is already outlined for such things, such as the stage that we will be requiring is part of the co-sponsorship. It wouldn't be falling under the meal for the co-sponsorship. For the co-sponsorship, if we're seeking to get like a Caribbean meal, we will ask Haitian or Bakaska community to put uh, to have a sponsorship in it and come tent at the event. Those things does require documents and other things, and as we know in the in our Caribbean community, we gotta get them in line first before we can do such things.
Man, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
He's talking like health department
Yeah,
credentials.
but
is that-
but I see this as an opportunity. This could be so much bigger.
Yeah.
This could be so much bigger. And the reason why I'm Blaze, you know, I know you, but I'm drilling you because as the city we're investing, we want to make sure we're getting everything back as well.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, for the community. So that's really what it comes down to.
Yes, sir.
And you know, there's no reason why Pakaska can't support this or get behind you on something like this. You're a young man under 30 pushing this and trying to make your community better. These seats should be packed with people supporting you. Here you are standing alone. So I commend you for that, sir. So
Yes,
um,
as you guys know, I love my city. I just came from Miami and literally came in town. I'm like, yeah, I got I gotta pull up. So yes, I understand.
oh,
Yes, sir.
I'm good, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So yeah, right along what Councilman Johnson was saying, I didn't see the food aspect to the partnership, right? But I want to commend you because I think it's significant to celebrate Flag Day, and I think the history in and of itself to share with the community. It's critical what Councilman Johnson's talking about is breaking bread. There's something about when we share a meal with one another, we learn each other's culture, we learn the different histories from that culture, right? So I want to commend you for bringing this forward, and at the same time, encourage you to look at it as a larger. You should have people right alongside of you holding your arms up to bring forward that breaking of bread aspect to it. But again, thanks for, I think the May 18th event, the Haitian Flag Day celebration is really important to our community. And I think the more we share, especially the Independence Day, which I know that you're a leader in that, Deputy Mayor, and I'm very fond of that independence because it coincides with our independence. Many people don't understand what the Haitians brought to the battle during the American Revolution and the Louisiana Purchase and such. So I really appreciate that history component to it. So I think this is all part of that. So I'll be in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you again. And as far as the other communities, they are taking place. We do have Bakaska behind us. As for today, them not being there, we're gonna take care of that in house. But yes, they being part of the event. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Blaze, just for content, I know you mentioned Councilman Johnson asked about trying to see the value. One thing you probably failed to mention, would you, I know I wasn't there last year, year before I think it was a beautiful event where it truly brought the community together. Not only that, as far as I can remember, we have a lot of people, we had a lot of people from out of town that ended up staying in town, that spent money in the
Oh
area.
yes.
So I think for content purposes, the economic aspect, just so you understand, when we come alongside an organization, we co-sponsor, and what we want to see, that's why, just to put in context, that's why Councilman Johnson asking all these questions. What's the value added to our community? The economic aspect, and I know it's there. I know a lot of people travel. You got those teams from Miami and Fort Lauderdale to compete over here. They're most likely going to spend the night. They're going to spend their money here. So that is important. These are some of the important piece of information. So you want to relate to us so we can put it in context.
Yes. So
Just
Oh,
wanted to, kind of help you out here.
very well. So as Mr. Dunny has just stated, yes, I believe we did not do it last year due to the COVID that was going around, but the year before we do have over hundreds of people that coming out of state, that's coming out of the
I was
city
there.
that come, and we do award city councils that been supporting the event, and as well people that's making difference in the community. When those people that come into a city, they stay in the hotels, they either stay in the hotel, and they also have other event that's partnership with us. So as far as the quality of the things that they are bringing to our city is very amazing because there are people that come into resign in Palm Bay as well.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, there were people from Georgia
Yes,
that
sir.
came.
New York.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
and
sir.
New York. So there were overnight stays. I do remember that. Not last year, but the year before was when I attended.
Yes, sir. So
All right, all right.
as it get bigger, as it get better and bigger, we're gonna find ways to make it more uh as far as the agenda, make sure everything is detailed properly for you guys.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Any other speaker cards, Deputy Mayor?
Mr. Bill Batten.
Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. This is for a 4-day event, 5, 12, and the 18th, a 3-day event. According to the packet that they submitted, it was for 500 people. $4,570. That averages out to $10 a person that the city is willing to co-sponsorship on. Because that's what was said. I'm not saying that there's going to be more or less or anything else. I'm just looking at the package. And I challenge this type of stuff of co-sponsorship because I look at it as preferential treatment. So that's why I'm challenging it. I'm not saying it's not a good thing or a bad thing. The function sounds like it's going to be a fantastic function. I'm just against co-sponsorships. Right? Now, like I said, 3-day events, that's still 3 days of staff tie-up, personnel tie-up for 500 people, because that's how many people they said in their packet that that's what's going to be there. That's a lot for such a small group, for such a long period of time. Which leads me to question number 2. How much fund do we have left in the CSR program, or the fund, CSR fund? Because we still have a couple of big functions coming up. Granted, they're only asking for they're asking for $4,500 when they're eligible for $12,500. So, but that's still payout. So I'm just curious of how we're standing on the fund. And I thought that $10 a day for per person for 500 people seemed like a lot when you're looking at output over input. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know much about the attendance aspect to it. And I don't know if the attendance is just a conservative estimate, but the funding I wanted to get with Madam Sherman. Madam Sherman, how are we doing with the co-sponsorship fund?
The last report I had reflected that we had about total approved estimate for the year from last year, from October to around March, was around $32,000, and I think our total for the year is $50,000. So we're still doing well. With the events we're aware of that will be coming for the rest of the summer.
We do have the Bakaska event coming up in June.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what else after that? For
I'm not
this
aware of-
fiscal year?
I'm looking at Fred.
The Puerto Rican Day Parade?
That should be in the new fiscal year, the Puerto Rican. Fred, you want to come up?
No, I think they're doing it before October. Yeah.
I think the only significant event is going to be the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Anything, any other of the major ones would have already happened this fiscal year, wouldn't happen again until next fiscal year.
Okay, so we're at 35, did you say, Madam Sherman?
So we're at 32,
32.
But this does not reflect the full update on the actual expenditures. I'm sure there's a more current spreadsheet. I don't have that with me. But sometimes we have events where there's a higher higher number expected in the budget, so that's what we put in the agenda memo, and it goes a little bit lower. We never see it go over, but we do see it come in lower sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, most of the times when we get the reports, when we get the actuals, it's actually lower than what was requested.
Okay, thank you, Fred.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions, gentlemen? Okay. No other speaker cards?
No, sir.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion
Second.
by Councilman Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any Deputy Mayor, you made the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Certainly, just like any other applications that came before us, we view these as valuable events or activities that are recreation department, as much as they do an excellent job, but they can't be tied up to putting events together all the time. So having partnering with those other organizations, that brings a different flavor, culture, and Palm Bay being the most diverse city in our county, and we are growing, gentlemen. I don't know the last time I looked at the pie chart as far as our demographic, we are by far growing a lot more diverse with all the categories, Hispanic, Blacks, and so on, growing tremendously. So, and that's something to be proud of. Celebrating culture should be what we're all about. This nation is a better nation because of the mixing of culture and the different flavor that each of those cultures bring to the mix. So, obviously, I'll be in support of this item. Yeah,
Councilman Johnson. I agree. I love diverse functions. I remember San Gennaro Festival and Italian Festival in New York, and then the Chinese New Year. You always had, and that's how you get to know the culture. So I got a motion by Deputy Mayor Felix, seconded by Councilman Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes to item number 2, Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an item that was added that is consideration of initial funding appropriation for Fire Station 9 and authorization to purchase a Pierce Saber pumper fire truck. Both of these items relate to the future Fire Station 9, which is in the vicinity of Babcock and St. John's Heritage Parkway. We're asking to do 2 things with this. First is to put some initial money into opening a project budget for future Fire Station 9. We've talked about the response time concerns in that portion of the city. And we'd like to put some initial money into the budget simply to get us started. We're evaluating a couple of different site locations, and we'd just like to have that money available for some initial expenses that could occur. The second part of this is we've previously discussed the challenges with identifying and then being able to actually purchase new fire engines. Often we find the lead times are 2, even 3 years out, just because of how the market is on those. So staff has been looking diligently at all the different vendors who provide fire engines, and they found an apparatus that there's not a lot of public knowledge on the fact that it's underway and would be available sometime later this year. It's about $795,000 to purchase it. So our request is to go ahead, because we found one that's available, and go ahead and buy that now, and use that as part of our plan to begin to. We've talked a little bit before about having a temporary station for future Fire Station 9, and then build a permanent one. So we'd like to consider all those steps, and we'll be bringing more plans to you later this summer. But for now, we have an opportunity to acquire this fire truck and put it to use. So we'd like to do that.
Thank you, ma'am, and I really appreciate this opportunity. That's the first thing, and it's critically important because we have to make this decision tonight, because the deadline, we have to commit to purchasing this by tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. Have to sign something rapidly if you approve it.
Well, it's really unique, gentlemen, because I say this because the lag time to build, as you know, one of these trucks, we're talking about years, and yet right now we've got one to secure within a matter of months, and we can continue to cut down on the response time in that southeast quarter, that southeast section. So I'm really excited about this. So, are there any speaker cards? No speaker cards. Then on this one, I'll entertain a motion and I'll second it.
So moved.
I'll second it. Councilman Johnson. Deputy Mayor, any comments?
Mayor, I do appreciate staff diligence on this item, really forward thinking and take a step, being proactive. As you know, we stress the importance of the challenges we're facing as far as the public safety is concerned. So I do appreciate the due diligence and the proactive acts. So I'll be supporting this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is forward thinking. This is being Johnny on the spot. So the entire fire rescue team, way to go. To identify a truck that's just months away is significant. So you have our commitment, and I'm excited that it's going to be unanimous. And in part of the training that we also approved, I just wanted to share. Shout out to McKee who actually worked diligently on those trainings. Yeah, I dug deep into that. So you give him a shout out on my behalf because those incentives, that training is critical for the entire team. And I'll be taking some of those trainings just so that I'm putting you on notice. I got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor, or seconded by Mayor Medina. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. We're on item number 3. Madam Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an agenda revision just to add a police department training request. It is for some master taser instructor training to send 2 of our team members to. One will come back and provide train the trainer services. So we're excited to be able to send them there with your approval.
Thank you. Any speaker cards, Deputy Mayor?
No, Mayor.
Okay, I need a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Mayor Medina. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We are now on council reports. Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna take a minute. It's been a good 2 months for me, sir. It's been a great 2 months actually, because it's been the 2 months I've needed to grow. There's always times to grow, and God gives us opportunities to grow. It's up to us. He doesn't just give us strength; He gives us opportunities to grow in strength, like we're working a muscle. And doing that, He had to break me down. He had to break down that ego, and in breaking down that ego, I was able to hear His voice louder.
Wow.
Yes, sir. That's where I'm at. So I first want to start off because when I hear that voice, just like when you hear that voice, you have to listen, because it's just like with my son. When my son knows better and he doesn't listen, that's when that discipline's even harder, because he knows better. So me knowing better, I have to do better. So with that, sir, I'll first want to start off by apologizing on how we chastised you on what God told you. I want to say that publicly, sir. I saw you yesterday at the Palm Bay Chamber luncheon. I could have told it to you then. I was like, no. We chastise you publicly. I should be able to apologize publicly, sir. So, and that's something that we all have to be able to do. But it starts with us. It starts with us. And once we know better, we have to do better. So us as elected officials, us as leaders, while our intentions may be good, they may not be pure. While they may be good, they may not be pure. And I feel like that's where there's sometimes confliction here and ego here and convoluted messages here. But I know with myself, and that's why it's crazy what the pastor was speaking about, because I'm seeing it in the community, I'm seeing it in society. But this has been the year that needed to happen. And with me being able to look inside myself in areas where I need to improve and I need to minimize, the ego and temptation and those vices, we all can learn and grow. And with that, I've been talking to the city manager, city attorney's office. And another thing, Mayor, I want to get back to you, sir. You came forth, a few years ago with a forensic audit, but it came back to us that wasn't the correct audit. And then what it came from it was the correct audit would be an operational audit. And we've done one before, partially, a limited audit with 65th North audit. I've talked to the city manager, I've talked to city attorney, and if you look at the findings and everything, they found a lot, and that's constructive criticism. Once we can learn and take it as, I can't remember the Bible verse, sir, but it's in Proverbs, and it talks about the wise take rebuke similar to a gold earring to the ear. Like they look at it as an opportunity to better themselves. So I would love for us to do a full, operational audit for the whole city, and move forward as quickly as possible. Being that the budget is coming up October 1st, we can prioritize it now. So that way by next year it's out and it's ready to go. So that's all I have for tonight, Mayor, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate your patience, sir. I appreciate everybody's patience, because even when residents come up in here and speak and chastise us, there's some partial truth to it. But sometimes emotions and ego get in the way that convolute the message where we can't receive what we're supposed to receive. So, it took me a minute to learn this, but I bless God. I thank God for blessing me with a son, because if I'm able to learn from a 4-year-old, like there's nothing else to be said. There's nothing else to be said. So I've been excited for council reports, and not to mess up anything else, but I want us to focus on taking more time in council reports and less time in proclamations, because it's through conversations like this that we can accomplish so much more. So I appreciate everybody's patience. Palm Bay, I appreciate your patience. We're not perfect, but we're working. And once we kind of realign ourselves, we can realign all those around us by giving them constructive criticism and giving them opportunities to grow on their speed. I can't force my son. I can't force anybody. God didn't force me. It had to happen in the right time. And so that's it, Mayor. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Is there a cost associated with that, Councilman?
Well, that's what I'll look for staff to get back with us on. But whatever the cost is going to be worth it. And, I feel Palm Bay is going to see that our heart's in the right place with doing it, and it's with pure intention. So that's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Sherman, I know that you've been in talks with Councilman Johnson
and City Attorney.
And City Attorney. Do you have an estimate of something like that? Do we do it in sections? What are your thoughts on that?
We don't have an estimate yet. I have some older cost estimates we would get updated. One of the things I talked to Councilman Johnson about is it had come up previously in staff discussion about having this brought back as a budget item for this coming fiscal year. When we did the 65th North audit the first time, what we found, we selected 3 different areas of our operations, and this goes back a few years, but we had them tackle that.
Right.
And we found that because there was so much to be worked on, everything from policies to technology we had to buy and implement, it actually took quite a bit of time to put all the changes in place. So I've actually already talked to staff about, we're going to come up with some new ideas to propose that we can bring to council, and you can select perhaps some specific areas you're interested in having us do the audit again. The other thing that I did mention to Councilman Johnson is we'll recommend things that make sense because of what we're going to be going through with the ERP transition, all that software change, because what it's going to do is actually going to change a lot of our processes anyway. So some areas where we may have had historical concerns about maybe vulnerabilities that relate to technology that will be solved by the new ERP, those we may recommend not dealing with those now because they're already going to change and be improved. So we're going to work on a list of ideas and certainly bring that back to you as we get a little further on in the summer.
Yes, ma'am. Let me
Okay.
weigh in,
Yes, sir.
Councilman Johnson. Then, I liken this to kind of like an IG, right? And I've mentioned that as well. I mentioned what we're looking at is how can we improve what we're doing, right? We always have to bring the mirror to look at us. In other words, and I've said this before, remove the boulder, and I'm gonna say boulder, right, in our own eye, as opposed to the splinter in your neighbor's eye. But I liken this to an IG. I liken it because it's going to show where we may be deficient. So I'm aligning myself with Councilman Johnson. I love to see this, and then I see what you're saying. We're about to go into a whole completely new software, so it's not going to make sense for us to start looking in that arena. We're already making improvements on that. but we could certainly learn on how we could improve in other areas. So I like the idea. I'm very supportive of it. As he knows, I would be. But I'm going to turn back to you, sir, because you wanted to.
Yeah,
add on to it.
it was one more thing because it is a costly item, and um, it's been discussed before, but I want to see, and that's something for the city attorney, for it to go out to a vote to have the charter changed to include an inspector general. Somebody stand alone, so that way, long after this council or staff and everybody, we're still set in place and the standard set. So
And that's an elected position.
well, not so charter. So you have the city clerk, you have city manager.
It's an
city-
appointed
Yes,
position.
yes.
Okay.
So that's something else as well, Mayor.
Okay. We could definitely look at that. I think we did discuss that before, and
We did, but we didn't really have an appetite. I didn't have an appetite at
Oh.
the time. I'm hungry now, so
copy that. Oh, all right. Okay, so all right, that'll work. I don't mind doing that as well. I remember I was supportive of it back then, and we didn't have that appetite. Right now, we've got 2 council members. Deputy Mayor, I want to get your weigh in on both items here.
Let me start to say, well, thank my colleague here for the level of honesty and just being vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage. It takes truly a real man to just display, your there's no sign of weakness, none whatsoever. I do appreciate that, and I feel sincerity. That place you are in your life right now, and it's truly a good place. May not be comfortable, but nothing grows in a place of comfortability, right? I certainly appreciate that. Thanks for being vulnerable and share that with us. I'm really touched and moved, and that's truly some heavy stuff. On a lighter note, let me bring it back to, and I sincerely, and I've shared that with you off this dais, and I have the opportunity to share it with you as a younger brother. I appreciate that. Madam Chairman, I think I brought that before. There's a couple of area we're gonna bring it back to more on, sidewalks. If you would have staff look at from Garvey all the way to Winn-Dixie, it's as if I'm driving by several times. What I've seen is certain section, the lending, I believe it's the lending apartments. Is it lending? Whatever. Madden. Yeah. So you have that section of it is sidewalks all in front. There's a break. Comes to the falls, the sidewalks picks up, continues all the way to whatever is in the middle. So there's a stop and break type of thing. And I don't know for what the cost would maybe, and I figured that little portion. And surely if you think along that side of the road, the amount of Palm Bay resident that lives there, and that constantly, and what you've seen, I haven't seen that in a long time. Growing up in Haiti, I used to do a lot of walking. I've seen, footsteps. You've seen they form their own, and I could imagine, during the rainy season and so on, what a nightmare for those folks that, constant travelers from their apartment to Winn-Dixie to access whatever So please take a look into that and see what it would cost and how we can maybe remedy that issue there. I can imagine it's a constant issue for those that use it on a regular basis. And also across, I know Butch brought that to our attention before. Across the street, the parking lot. I'm pretty sure there's folks that from the Winn-Dixie parking lot that come across to the library. So if we can make that area safer, and I know multiple times I'm trying to make that left turn from the library, make that left turn or even right turn sometime, it's super difficult. As we're getting ready to improve that corridor, if we can stripe it, create a pedestrian pathway from the Winn-Dixie Plaza right into that little bridge that come across the pedestrian bridge
Yeah.
to that side.
Yeah.
It's an easy, very seamless. I don't think we need Frank blessing on that. I think I was looking at it today. I think it could happen very easily. Potentially add the flashing light. This just make it very seamless, very easy for those folks coming from the Winn-Dixie Plaza to just cross very easily, very with no issue. So if you consider those two for me, that's all I have. Mayor, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, I'll start my reports by, agreeing with the Deputy Mayor. I truly appreciate, and I said this before, I'm starting to appreciate your heart. There were a few meetings ago that you mentioned something, and I literally felt your heart. And there's definitely something that God is working through. But I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for your heartfelt, what I consider an apology. And I truly, I felt it. It was sincere, and I know that you meant it. And I not only do I accept it, I appreciate it. But moreover than that, I think I'm most proud of the fact that God is doing something great in you, right? That's what I'm most impressed with. What you say to me is significant to some part, but the true reward is your relationship and your journey. That's the reward I'm seeing here. So thank you for that. I'm going to start my reports with, gentlemen, the fire at the Air Force Annex. And I want to share this, and I know I shared it in the beginning, but the men and women that protect us, it doesn't matter. They just move forward with disregard to their own lives, disregard to protect someone else, to witness that unit, that team go and through evacuate a corridor, to witness, and some people didn't want to leave. Unit, that just go for the record, go and through, and the smoke was so blinding, and your eyes can't tolerate that. Some folks did not want to leave their homes, but that didn't matter. They moved forward, and what I'm really, I was really moved by the team coming together. Melbourne Fire Department, Brevard County, I think they send a unit from Vieira. We had Malabar. We had folks coming from all over. We had West Melbourne PD assisting us right on the street. And yes, your mayor was in the thick of it. I'm honored to actually witness these men and women protecting. So I went with one of the assistant fire chiefs onto the Air Force Annex. And in the annex, you see all the burning brush, right? And they're knocking it out as best as they can, and they are. And believe it or not, within a 4-mile radius, it started to downpour. And it wasn't all over Palm Bay. It was just concentrated within that 4 mile. So if you don't believe that God answers prayers, I'm here to tell you that was God himself. Because 4-mile radius of that downpour, and it seemed to be sufficient. Now, would I have wanted more? Yes. However, it was sufficient enough to prevent anything else from happening. It came through. So along with that, Madam Sherman, and I'm asking council for your support in this. I'd like to find out when the last prescribed burn was at that Air Force Annex Station. And once we find that out, perhaps ask that be provided on a regular basis. However, I'm not into fire science, but certainly I think a prescribed burn within that location should be something that we should always consider, because right along that rear border of the Air Force Annex is a list of houses, is an entire community actually right behind there. So I wanted to share that as well. And that pretty much concludes. Remember, it's National Police Week, but even more so, Sunday is Holocaust Remembrance Day. Holocaust Remembrance Day. Today is National Day of Prayer. Don't forget, we have Armed Forces Day on the 18th, which shares the same day as your Haitian Flag Day, right? But and then Memorial Day, we'll talk about that at our next meeting. But again, to all our first responders, thank you. Each and every one of you are a great representation, not only a credit to the city, but a credit to yourselves and your departments. May God continue to bless you and your families. And so that ends my report. Madam Sherman, anything you want to report on?
No, sir. Thank you.
I know that Madam Attorney has something for us.
Yes, sir. The City Attorney's Office desires your advice in an attorney-client session in the following litigation matter. Community Asphalt Corporation versus City of Palm Bay. Case number 05-2023 CA 036384. Attendees will be Mayor and City Council, City Manager Suzanne Sherman, City Attorney Patricia Smith, and Attorney Sean Mickley, and a certified court reporter. The attorney-client session is expected to be 30 minutes in length, and I've been provided the following date and time when all of you are available: May 23rd, 2024 at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, ma'am. And now we're on public comments. Do you have speaker cards so we handle those?
Yes,
first?
Mr. Blaze, so what you talk? Yes.
Wait till you get here. Go ahead.
All right. Again, thank you to our first responders. Thank you to the city of Palm Bay. We do live in a beautiful city, although yet it is small, guys. We do live in a beautiful city. My thing is regarding city water in certain location. I understand our city is being developed. However, there's some locations, for example, if a property, if a residence is right there and one in front of it, this residence will have water. Meanwhile, the other residents will not have water. They are on the same street, same road. And I understand we are speaking about funding. That's a concern that we should be worrying about, that we have new properties that do not have city waters, new properties that's being built without city waters, yet we have in the same street properties that have water, city waters, in the other location that have city waters. And that's all. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. So I know there's a development for city water. Maybe we get the specifics that he's talking about and see.
We actually looked at his property not too long ago, but I pulled up the old email and I'll recirculate it with staff to take another look.
Okay, so you're working this, man? Yes. All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Stice or Sailor Stice or Petty Officer or
Robert Stice, 1796 Winbrook Drive, Southeast. I'm really tickled to see the process improvement that everybody's trying to make. I mean, story of my life, and you know, there's a lot in Proverbs about how God honors the humble, and I'm grinning over here because that's a book my wife and I are like chapter 19 already. But one thing you can do, I'd like you to consider, a lot of questions come up, especially from Master Chief BB over there. But it would be nice if you could put your heads together when we ask questions. A simple thank you doesn't get to it. We're not getting any information. And I know you want to move everything along, but where's the follow-up that we could do to find out? I asked a question, we got a thank you and moved on, but then I'm walking out without an answer. Is there anything is there any way you can put your heads together and decide that, well, what we used to do quite frequently is, I don't have that answer, go see so-and-so, go see, you know what I'm saying? So there were several times last meeting where both Bill and I asked some questions and I didn't get any of them answered. So how do you get better informing your constituents a little bit more thoroughly about some of the questions that we bring to your attention? Thank you.
Thank you. Master Chief? Well, we'll get to you, sir. Carry on.
Thank you. Bill Batten, 586 Ocean Spray Street, Southwest. I have 4 quick items to address. The first one was, It'd be nice if we could see a plan for Building E. Now, I see that we've broken the ground out there. We see some dirt moving. I really appreciate that. But I also really appreciate Deputy Manager giving me a call back when I asked what the status was on it. I got a call back and they said it was because of a dilemma that they were working on. But what interests me that even more than or pleased me more than the fact that I got a call back from you, which I greatly appreciate, was what she talked about was the fact that the parking lot was going to be a stormwater holding capability. Instead of having to use green space at your parking lot is part of the green space is going to be a holding. So your water runs through your parking lot, goes into a holding system. And then from there, when it reaches its overflow, I'm assuming that reaches an overflow, then it goes into the green retention. And from there into the Tillman Canal. I'm assuming that's what it was because I didn't get any more input. But the whole idea, because that's more expense, which is great, but that's going to show, if you're going to show a green city, then show a green city. There's an expense to that. But I'd like to see what the plan is going to look like because we're all talking, well, what is Building E going to be? What are we spending all this money on? What do we get to see? It'd be nice if we had a little bit of show and tell, or even a little pamphlet over there that says, here's what you're getting, just to keep us informed, because it's a big deal, right? Item number 2, when they're talking about the school, you pass it for a school to come in a residential area. And they say, well, the traffic, well, it's not a school. Well, you just made it a school. So it is a school on Port Malabar Road. It's a school. I didn't understand that traffic thing. Well, it's not a school. Well, it is a school. So that means school zone. You're in a school zone. I didn't understand that answer. Item number 3 was the bridge at the library. I appreciate the putting in for pedestrians. That turn is a very dangerous turn for automobiles also, just because it's so narrow. Either clip a car if anybody's hugging the line, or you hit the curb trying to avoid them. And maybe if you're on a bicycle, you can do it. But when you're in a big truck, it is very hard. You have to stop and wait traffic, and you actually blocking up traffic on that road because it's so narrow, right? And item number 4, prescribed burns. You can use that same analogy all over the entire city where you have the growth that's at the annex. You have that same growth all throughout the city, the compound, and they're even guessing the golf course now. So we're going to need that. So something else to consider. Thank you.
Yeah, the prescribed burn, Master Chief, is because it's a federal property. And so the only one that would be able to do it are the feds. So that's the concern there. And it hadn't been done in at least 20 years that I could remember, if it was ever done. So that's why I asked about that. Now, regarding Building E, I think that's a great idea for us to. But Madam Sherman, can you address some of these, and then we're gonna talk about Mr. Stice.
Well, certainly we can put out some images and information about what's going to be in the building. We can do some more of that. There are some things we wouldn't release because
Copy that. I understand.
So we can certainly do that. What else would you like me to address, sir?
So, what was it he was talking about? What was it, Bill? A plan? Stormwater
retention in the parking lot before you have a massive runoff. You don't have to use as much green space for your water retention.
So we have stormwater exfiltration that's built in under the parking lot. That's part of our,
okay,
our plan. Yeah.
Is
that a question or a comment? I'm not sure. I'm not clear.
I just want to learn more about it.
He just, yeah.
We don't have any other parking lots within the city that have water retention underneath the parking lots. I don't know if it's the new dome systems they're putting in, or if it's I just wanted to know more about it to go with the green. Then I can inform my sustainability board.
Certainly, we're actually going to be at some point. I believe the sustainability board has requested an update on Building E, so we're planning to bring a presentation to them anyway soon. essentially when it serves two purposes, but in our case, we don't have that much room on the site. So you're right, we don't have the room to build another pond. So you have to put stormwater exfiltration systems underneath your parking lot. The more challenging part of that is they require a greater level of and a different level of maintenance. So there's definitely, there could be more costs over time, and you have to be vigilant on that because when they're dirty, they need to be cleaned. But we're excited. It is a more modern stormwater technique to use. And certainly, if you'd like more technical explanation of that, I can have an engineer talk to you about it, Bill, because I'm not the expert on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask, just for content purposes, next door, the little medical building
Oh, yeah,
next
they
to the
have it
fire
too.
station, that's a perfect example right there for them to be able to do what they did on such a tight spot. That's what they did. So, maybe can take a tour of that site. Just for content purposes, that give you a full idea. Yes, it is a little more costly. That's for sure. Mayor, if I can I just add that'll probably address Mr. Stice as well. As great as I think, Mayor, kudos to you. I've sat in those chairs with previous council. The idea, the notion of us trying to address as much as we can right from here, is something that been elevated with your leadership, which is great. But I want to put it out there as well. We cannot address every single question that came from that podium. Our meeting will definitely past 11 o'clock, and we can't have that. What I would recommend is to follow up with staff. There's certain things that we can a quick 30-second answer, but most of it got to be a staff follow up. I mean, not that I think this council did a good job, and that wasn't the case with previous council. I guarantee. Well, you've been around 40 years, 50 years. I'm just saying, follow up would be all great staff member here, and certainly I think that's a proper platform out of fairness to them and to everybody else. We'll be here till tomorrow if we have to address every single one in details. I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Mr. Stice, we do take everything you say into consideration, and I wanted to elaborate a little bit on that. Some of the comments you make are more of suggestions and consider, and we are considering those things. So to Deputy Mayor's point, if there's some of the things you bring up actually were even discussed in the meeting as well when we're talking about the items in particular. So if you feel that we're not responsive, because thank you. I do try to respond to just about everyone. I also have a time limit. Before we would hang out here till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't have that option anymore. But we do care about your concerns, and we want to acknowledge your concerns. Something that I think is important is what Deputy Mayor said is follow up with our staff, regarding any questions that you have, or if it's a law enforcement issue, you have the chief here all the time. You have the fire chief, you have Frank Watanabe. We have so many staff members, but to your point, if there's something directly, you could even send me an email. I'll get you that response. If you feel that it's not answered here, if it's overlooked, you could drop a line and I get you a response. I'll direct you to the best way we can. But I don't want you to think that it's just thank you, okay, next. We're constantly thinking on how we could better communicate with everyone. So please feel free to send me an email. Hey, Mr. Mayor, you missed this question. I didn't get a response, and we'll follow up. All right, sir. Anyone else wish to speak for or against anything? Or it's National Day of Prayer. Remember, and today in victory and in prayer. Seeing no one else.
Mayor, if I may just say, I'd just like to put it out there. Just keep our colleague, Councilman Foster, in your prayers as
Thank
well.
you, brother. Yes.
He's okay. He's not here tonight. But please, you just want to put it out there. Just keep him in your prayers.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I meant to do that. See, I'm not perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Councilman Foster, May God continue to bless you. We called you healed, sir. No one else is speaking, so we are going to adjourn this meeting.